thousands of people to get together like they are in all 50 states to denounce Donald Trump, to denounce his abominable administration, and to send a message: no kings in America.
What's the sentiment that you're hearing and feeling where you are, Steve? I see huge crowds gathering in D.C. I see huge crowds gathering in Minnesota. I am told there was a huge crowd, a ginormous crowd in Rome, which is obviously across the water. So what's the sentiment? What are you seeing? Are people just fed up and frustrated?
Everyone I talk to is a combination of disgusted, exhausted, frightened, worried, and counting down until they can do something, which is fundamentally to go out and to vote this out. But obviously, there's a lot of worry. Donald Trump, between the last No Kings March and this one will be larger than the last one, has started a war. And not only has he started a war, he started a war with Iran. And not only has he started a war with Iran, he started a war with Iran that we're losing, that we're unable to achieve the strategic objectives, which makes the world far more dangerous. So all across the country, in every state, in every community, ordinary Americans, not organized by a political party, but organically, locally, are coming out to express their contempt and their disgust for the corruption, for the lawlessness, for the cruelty, for the maliciousness of this Trump administration. I think it's very important to remember, as millions and millions of Americans go out there today, as we speak, there are warehouses, industrial warehouses, 1 million square feet, 500,000 square feet, that are being turned into, through government contract, concentration camps. And that's what people are out here today marching, speaking out against, is the totality of all the abuses in this, the 250th anniversary year of the country. And people today are going to raise their voice and to say that whether Donald Trump likes it or not, we have the right to protest. We have the right to worship as we choose. We have the right to our conscience, and we have the right to say no kings in America.
Yeah. And Joy, look, we both know Tiffany, but I don't know her like you do, because you guys are best friends and you work together. So I'm going to let you handle that. Hi, Tiff.
Absolutely. Let's bring in the one and only Tiffany D. Cross, former host on the artist formerly known as MSNBC, but now independent media journalist, who's got an amazing new book called Love Me, which you all should be also reading and ordering. Tiffany, tell us what's going on outside your window, because you, of course, live in the district. And so you're going to see a lot of this coming right outside of your window. So what's going on in
DC?
I
live mere blocks away from the White House. But first, let me say it's an honor to share the screen with you, Don, Joy, and Jim, the magic trio. And great to see you again, Steve. It's been some years since we shared the screen, Steve, but happy to be on with you guys.
We're gonna make you and Steve part of the team next time. So just get ready, but go on.
I'm ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So I'm ready. I want to say, though, quickly about the comments you were making about the networks. And Don, I know you're constantly saying, please support independent media. Joy, what you referenced Brendan Carr, the chair of the FCC, and what he was saying, he made those remarks at the CPAC conference, and he was bragging about, like you said, getting rid of journalists like the people you see on this screen. But also, we've heard these similar comments from SecDef, or Secretary of War now, Pete Hegseth, where he said, the sooner that David Ellison takes over that network, referring to CNN, the better. So they're letting us know right now what they're going to do. So when you look for information, I mean, we're living in a time right now where thousands of interests is competing for our attention. People have these smartphones that contribute to the dumbing down of America. So a lot of people don't even know that the Three Kings or No Kings protest was happening today. I was with Jane Fonda and our friend Rashad Robinson last night. She spoke so eloquently about the threats to our democracy that we're seeing. So when I see all these people protesting, we have to acknowledge that there is a bucket of people who are not protesting. And I think those are the folks that we have to focus on, because if we keep holding up this fallacy, this fantasy of, but wait till midterms, well, a lot of us feel like I ain't too keen on repairing sharing something that never really served me. I'm not too keen on revisiting an era where people, I mean, respectfully, you know, a lot of the folks from the never Trumper crowd, we're all locked arms together. But then when I see some of these people saying, tweeting, posting, and saying abolish ICE, and you know, we have to rethink public safety, and what does this mean? Oh, turns out that wasn't such a radical idea after all. So I think collectively we have to come to the table and say we have to give people something to believe in, because it is not just, well, we need to elect more people from this side of the aisle. Because, you know, on the Democratic side, there are sometimes where we feel neglected and unheard in this, you know, big tent. And it's not that the MAGA party, because it's not the Republican Party. These are a party of right-wing extremists. It's not that they were such great communications people and you hear the lie like, oh, they voted for Donald Trump for his foreign policy. We have to stop telling that lie. These right-wing extremists were so effective because they were rooted in our destruction, because they knew that there were people who did not want to operate in a multi-ethnic demographic society where everyone operated on equal footing. That is the truth of it. Of course, we can talk about Iran and the danger and its proxies and how they've been weakened for a while. And I, you know, still do some legacy media. And quite honestly, I'm offended that I'm sharing space with people who didn't know what the Strait was before 3 months ago, who could not name the bordering countries of Iran before, even today, who don't even know what the Caspian Sea is. And we are presented to the audience on equal footing, as though we are equal, as though their lack of intellect and their traffic in personal insults and regurgitating right-wing extremist talking points somehow is equivalent to an honest foreign policy argument. And that's the space that we're navigating. So I love seeing the protest. I love seeing the frustration, but I think we have to have honest, unfiltered conversation with each other right now on what the other part of this society looks like as we see the core pillars of our democracy crumbling, quite frankly. But I just want to say thank you again to you, Don, Joy, and Jim, for picking up the pieces, getting right back out there, and so being independent media for us to support. I do want to caution, though, even in the independent media conversation, that we have to also highlight the difference between journalists and people who have enough money to buy a podcast microphone and get a YouTube channel, because these are two different things. And we've seen what happens when audiences routinely tune out from legacy media or vetted journalists, and they start tuning into people who say things that are not always true, and this eagerness to be the first to say something. Everybody is not a journalist. You're looking at Joy, Don, and Jim are journalists, you know, on screen. And I just think as we get more to a disaggregated space, we're going to have some trouble with folks who call themselves journalists who, quite frankly, are not.
Amen.
And Tiffany Cross and Steve are longtime have worked in politics for a long time and have a history and a resume and the knowledge to be able to back up the words and the opinions or point of view that they're saying about what's happening. And there is a difference there as well, because if you look at especially the manosphere, people who came out of comedy, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're not steeped in politics. And there are no standards and practices and all the things that each of us has gone through, whether we're journalists or consultants or analysts. We still have gone through professional training, and we know that what we say must be rooted in reality and fact.
And I just want to say quickly, Don, I navigated newsrooms for 25 years. I studied journalism at the Clark Atlanta University. I built newsrooms. I got my start at CNN back in 2000. This is the time for everybody to gasp. No way, you were live in 2000? Yes, I was. But, you know, so it's even more heartbreaking to see what's happening to that network before my own eyes. I built a newsroom. I was a bureau chief here in DC. Joy and I obviously both anchored shows. And so we know the difference between somebody who's just giving their opinion, somebody who's an actually trained journalist who's skilled in fact finding, and of course our friends in print media. We always know there's that like gap between the print folks who are like, we're the real journalists. You broadcast people are worried about makeup. But it's true, so that, you know, print media, that matters as well. So even shout out to our print media folks on Substack and wherever else they're building. I just want to make that clear to your audiences.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. You get an amen.
I love what Tiffany was saying there, because, I mean, just think about we just need to take in what we're doing today. Don was arrested earlier this year. The Trump administration is bragging about kicking Joy and I off of the air. And yet we're still here. And Tiffany, you're still here. And Steve Schmidt, he's still here. And we're all collaborating in something new. The media landscape is shifting beneath our feet in real time. And this is the beginning of what's next. And we can hold the administration accountable. We can hold the president of the United States accountable just as well as the networks, or better than the networks, because we do it in this new space where we don't have executives breathing down our necks and saying, oh, you better be careful. Don't, be careful talking about Donald Trump. Don and I both know this all too well. We didn't have to worry about that until Donald Trump came along.
Yeah.
And
But
so we got,
Steve,
the thing about it is, though, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say that. Go ahead. No, you go first, Don. I'm sorry. We're jumping.
I wanted to ask Steve a question because Steve works in a space now that is very aware of this and pushes back. And Steve, I just wonder, I think the first people they come for, institution they come for, is the media, because they want to be able to shift the narrative, and they are doing it they're not doing it quietly. They're doing it in front of everyone. Pete Hegseth does it from the podium every time he updates us on what's happening in the war, and we're trespassing over the Tehran and throttling down and whatever the hell he's talking about. Donald Trump is saying the same thing. The media, the headlines should be written this way. It is an all-out assault on media, and the next space they will come for, I do believe, is independent media.
I think all of this has to be looked at as playing out on a continuum from the very first act on the first day of Trump's first presidency, where Sean Spicer goes out and he demands a type of obedience from the MAGA member, and that is to suspend belief that the smaller crowd size, because Trump says so, is suddenly bigger. And you have a president who is told not 100 lies, but scores of tens of thousands. He is assaulted objective reality. There is no debate that exists in reality about whether there's free and fair elections in the United States. There is. Donald Trump lost an election. He won 2 of them, to our great national shame, but he won narrowly. It's the cornerstone of our society, and we're under siege from all of these lies. And what Donald Trump understands is that the person sitting across from him that wants to get a merger done, that wants to get a deal done, that person, in almost every instance, will not do what Katharine Graham did a generation ago, which is stand up to power, which is what Don Lemon does, which is what Joy Reid does, which is what Jim Acosta does, what Tiffany Cross does. They won't do that. They'll capitulate. They'll get on their knees. ABC will write that check for an absurdist lawsuit. This entire sale with Paramount and CNN, and all of it is a corrupt deal. All of it the fruit of a poisonous tree, the capitulation by Shari Redstone to a specious lawsuit. And over again, whether it's the top law firms, the big tech guys, they get on their knees. But the American people will not get on their knees. They will confront the abuses of power bearing down on them. And I think it's very important to understand something about democracy. It's what keeps us safe. The man who interrogated Adolf Eichmann for 275 hours, his name was Avner Less, and 20 years after it, he was asked any takeaways from the experience. And he said, yes, gave me my full faith in democracy because there are Adolf Eichmanns everywhere. They're harmless in a democracy. They're latent, but in a dictatorship of the left or right, they turn deadly in an instant. And this is an administration filled with little Eichmanns, exercising their authority, abusing their power, making threats. But no matter what they do to threaten information, to threaten journalists, to threaten the news media, the water, as it does from the river, it will flow to the ocean. And the truth will flow out, and the American people will see it. And no matter if it's covered or not, you're going to have millions of people on the streets today in all 50 states, in 1,000 communities, more even, saying no, not in our name. And that's powerful. And the truth and the lie in the public square have been engaged in a battle for 12 years' time. And we're in the middle hours of that fight, and it's undecided. And that's why we got to stand up and we got to talk honestly and clearly and directly about what's happening in the country.
Joy, I'm going to let you take it away, but I just want to bring in now, just so we have MS Now legal analyst and former prosecutor Charles Coleman joins us. Go ahead, Joy, take it away, please.
No, I just wanted to say, because we're having the team just go through and check to see what mainstream media is doing, because I think that, I think a point that's important to make is that, if you go back to the Vietnam War, but for the coverage of the protests, most people would assume that the polling from Gallup showing a majority of people favoring the war was the mainstream ubiquitous opinion about the war. And without the coverage of dissent, then dissent is happening in silence. And I think it's really important that independent media is here to allow people to see the dissent. But I think if you even go back to the coverage of the Iraq War, there was a very great reluctance among mainstream outlets, because I was working for NBC News, local at the time. They didn't want to cover the protests. When George W. Bush was reelected, there were massive protests, but most of the media zeroed in on him marching down the street in DC and made it look like there were no protests. You didn't really see the protests. You would have had to zoom out or turn to C-SPAN. And I think it's actually dangerous that we're seeing mainstream media refuse to cover the dissent because they don't want to upset the president of the United States. I think that in and of itself is dangerous. Without seeing the Tiananmen Square massacre, we wouldn't know there was dissent in China. Without seeing the red, the Red Spring, we are seeing people actually be in the streets in these countries. You just wouldn't know that there was dissent. So I am concerned. We've seen now that apparently CNN did a 1-block segment, and then they moved on to talk about the TSA. They do have a Happening Now banner that's up on screen, but they're not covering it robustly, at least not yet. And I'm going to keep monitoring it, because I think unless the mainstream media acknowledges that there is dissent, it's going to be treated like internet gossip. It's going to be treated like something that's just for online people, and that it's not a generic, ubiquitous American sentiment that what this regime is doing is opposed.
Can I just jump in really quickly, Joy, because we really don't even have to go that far to foreign policy. So yes, certainly during Tiananmen Square, Kent State, the Arab Spring, all of these things, there was a narrative that the mainstream media had to present. But also, if you think about our own domestic policy, had America not seen what was happening when our ancestors crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, we would not have seen the change that we did. And so afraid were they to hear from the activist Mississippi Myectomy, Mississippi Democratic Freedom Party. You know who I'm talking about. I'm embarrassed to remember her name. Anyway, when she was
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Fannie Lou Hamer. Thank you. Shame on me. When Fannie Lou Hamer was speaking, so afraid of her remarks that Lyndon B. Johnson, again, the victors get to script the narrative, but he did not want people to hear from her. So he
get her off screen.
Right. Exactly. Sorry, Jim.
Jim, what are you saying?
Oh, no, I was just going to, I'm sorry. I didn't know, I heard a pause, so I was going to jump in and say that this march is about to get going across the Frederick Douglass Bridge into downtown DC shortly. But the only thing I was going to add to what Joy was saying, which was absolutely brilliant, was that, they used to do it this way, the way Joy is talking about. The late Walter Cronkite, the great Walter Cronkite, it was Walter Cronkite who said during the Vietnam War that the Vietnam War could not be won. And so we had anchors with balls. We had newsmen and newswomen with balls and spines back in the day who would tell the people what they needed to hear. We don't have that now. Now we have an anchor of the CBS Evening News who says, we salute you, Marco Rubio.
That's right.
And that there were two sides to January 6th. So anyway,
and the reality is, they still have a majority of Americans who get their news from mainstream sources. will the audience at CBS, which is a dwindling audience, but it's an older audience that is a dedicated, mainly majority white audience, which means a majority Republican open audience, if you just do it demographically, right? But that mainstream audience, will they know that there's dissent, or will they be told by Barry Weiss's outfit that Trump is popular? I recall being in this business as for 8 years, I was told by the mainstream media, for which I also worked, that George W. Bush was an enormously popular president. It was a line written into almost every anchor's scripts. Meanwhile, his poll numbers were in the 40s. And when Barack Obama reached the 40s because of people's objection to Obamacare, we were told he was an enormously unpopular president with the same numbers. And so what the media still has the power to do is to shape narratives. And because we know, most of the journalists wake up in the morning, read Politico, and then all say the same thing that they see in Politico. Tomorrow, will we be told on mainstream media that essentially there was really not much dissent? There were a few scattered protests, and Bruce Springsteen performed in Minneapolis. That's what I'm concerned about.
There's a particular irony.
Shout out to Politico, Charles Coleman.
Hey, I don't wait for them. There's a particular irony about this. If you look at the cycle of Donald Trump's foray into politics, in as much as in 2015, when he came down that escalator, it was actually mainstream media that had the decision to make as to whether they were going to legitimize some of the things that he was going to say or that he was saying. When he started talking about they're sending the rapists, they're sending their worst people, when he was making fun of the differently abled, it was mainstream media at that point that had an opportunity to say, we're not going to sort of legitimize this by sort of giving it the platform to breathe that they did. And ultimately, now that they find themselves in this
ratings, Charles, ratings.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Steve's point about the industry was one that I've made on this platform before, for people who don't understand where their industry is from a standpoint of consolidation, from a standpoint of shareholders wanting deals to go through, and from the standpoint of Trump obviously being unabashed about putting his thumb on the scale with respect to all of the deals that we've seen, not just with Paramount, not just with Comcast, not just with CBS, not just Viacom, but the entirety of how the changing industry and that business model has been transformed. I think it is very ironic now that the media is also, yet again, as Joy just said, in a position to shape narrative around the dissension to this administration and what they're doing.
Go ahead, preach. Charles, you just shut everybody up.
And the reality is they have a decision to make. No, they have a decision to make. And I think it's actually really kind of important for us to follow and to cover what decision is made tonight. I'm now told that Alex Witt is covering on the artist formerly known as MSNBC, Ms. Now, that they call themselves now. She's covering Minnesota. That is being covered. But I'm keeping my weather eye on our old industry, because they still do have, while declining influence, they still have influence.
Steve, I want to know you as I sort of, can I call you a political historian type? I know that that's not your official title. But I know you're not Meacham, but you do something that's much more pointed. And but I want to know how you think history will look back on this time of the MAGA regime, the MAGA administration, its attacks on institutions, its attacks and dismantling of the media, the dismantling of the number one biggest, most important news program in the world, 60 Minutes, and the network on which that show aired.
John Kennedy talked about the High Court of History, and the High Court of History will judge MAGA and Donald Trump brutally. He's the worst president in American history. I don't have a doubt in my mind that 20 years from now, it will be very, very difficult to find anybody in the country who cops to voting for Donald Trump, to being behind any of this madness. We have set down a catastrophic path over 12 years. And all I can say is that after the Dred Scott decision, Frederick Douglass was very depressed. And he was shocked out of his depression by Sojourner Truth, who asked him this question: is God dead? And for Douglass, it jolted him because he was a very faithful man, and he realized immediately that he was guilty of a type of idolatry, that he had put his faith in a Supreme Court, an institution of men. And when he gave a speech decrying this decision, he talked about that maybe there's a necessitous link, an unforeseen, unseen necessitous link in the chain of events that can't be properly understood in the moment, but he said will lead to the downfall of the entire institution of slavery. And that's what we got to think about in this moment is not so much how we got here, though it's important that we understand how it is that we got here, but how it is that we're going to have a reawakening in the country, and how it is that we're going to get out of this mess. An era of reform and renewal and a renewed patriotism that follows this Trump disaster. And so we see the power of the media. We just spent a bunch of time talking about it to shape the narrative. But the reality is that the American people look at this, and 70% of them almost, 30% approval. His numbers are in a state of collapse. We are in the early hours of a war we are losing, and the economic shocks from that event have not yet hit American soil, but they will.
Yeah.
And so when we look at this moment, history's going to judge it brutally. It's going to judge the collaborators brutally. It's going to judge the Lindsey Grahams brutally. It's going to judge every person who knew better but did what John Kennedy warned about, which is try to seek power by trying to ride the back of the tiger only to wind up inside. And
Steve,
so,
can I ask you?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I didn't want to interrupt what you were saying because I was so captivated by it. But just hearing you go through history and having the very wise counsel of, yeah, we got to talk about how we got here. But right now, like, let's talk about how we move forward. And I do see, I mean, you, a longtime member of the Republican Party, but there were always Republican policies that were harmful. So while Donald Trump may be less articulate, he's still echoing some of these same sentiments. And so as I see people who voted for Trump not once but twice, who support some of his policies, but when they're hit at the gas tank and they say, "Oh, well now I'm done with him," or when something very specifically tailor-made harms them, and then they say, "Okay, I'm done with him." People say we have to welcome them because, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, or, it's a coalition building. And I'll be honest with you, Steve, that's not my ministry. I am not equipped to align with people who have always believed a certain thing. I think they may be more receptive to hear what you have to say. So I'm just curious from you, this rational person who I know who have been on air with so many times, what is the message that you say to those people who may still hold some of those racist beliefs, sexist beliefs, people who are anti-trans, but they want to come align on this side because something very specifically impacted them?
I think one thing that's important to understand is, like, at this moment when he's at a 30% approval, he can only lose another 4 points. His floor is at about 26%. And so trying to understand his cult, trying to rationalize it, trying to reach out to the lowest common denominator, I don't have a lot of interest in it as well.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge mistake and I know you're not doing this, but to look at the Democratic Party as on the one side there's good, and then on the other there's bad.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the failures have been profound in both parties that led us to this moment. No society that doesn't have a lot of rot doesn't have a President Trump. And when I hear you talk about that person who says, "I'm off the train because gas prices are high," I think you have to be open to that person, but you have to be open to that person not on their terms, but on your terms. And at the end of the day, the thing that we have to all be for, that we can't compromise on, is that we believe in the checks and balances. We believe in a president, not a dictator. We believe that elections have consequences, that we decide who leads, who has power, and that we believe in the freedom of speech, and we believe in the freedom of religion, and we believe in the separation of church and state, and we believe in these things without compromise. And we're not going to negotiate them with Donald Trump. And I think that we have to be able to see disagreement in good faith without backing up from the central proposition that our whole cornerstone of our society, our civilization, is rooted in the idea that we're all equal, endowed by a creator, however you conceive of him or her or whatever, with inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is what is at stake. And that's what we have to stand up and we have to be for. And when we look back on 20 years from now, when people say, wow, was it really that bad? Did it really seem like you weren't going to get through with that? And when you tell the story of how we got through it, the story of how we got through it is a story of patriotism where Americans put the most important identity that binds us together forward, which is an American identity. And John Lewis talked about this. He said, doesn't matter what ship our ancestors came in, we're all in the same boat now, and all of our kids are going to be living together, including with the MAGA people, in 50 years. And what we got to make sure is for our descendants 50 years from now, that grandma and grandpa MAGA don't win this fight that we're in the middle of, that the American proposition endures in this fight. And I think that's what so many millions of people are out on the streets doing today.
Thank
well,
you,
that's
Steve,
it. Look,
for
I
answering
appreciate
me.
that answer. Tiff, I know that you got to go. You got to run. Yes. We will take
applause for Tiffany.
Applause for Tiffany and applause for Steve.
As we thank Tiffany and let her go, I will just say to you, sis, I'm one of those people who says, I'm happy to pull up the life raft, but you're not getting in this life raft to put a gun to my head. You're going to get in this life raft and you're going to sit down and be quiet. And don't try to put a gun to my head or stab it with a knife or push me out. Because a lot of the MAGA people would get in a life raft and shove us right into the sea. So let's just be trust but verify. Thank you, Tiffany.
But I appreciate Steve's remarks and because there is a demographic that has to hear that message. And I just, it's not my ministry to deliver it. So I appreciate your remarks, Steve. Next time we're in the same city, we'll clink glasses, my friend. And I'll just say, I like my Steve Schmidt as Steve Schmidt. Woody Harrelson could never.
Thank you.
I love you guys.
Thank you.
Love you, lady.
Thank you. Let me tell you guys this. If you're watching, if you're within the sound of our voice, or you're watching us or listening or whatever it is, make sure you subscribe to our channels, all of us. Subscribe to Steve's Substack, to Charles's show, to Charles's socials, the Joy Reid Show on YouTube, all of us, and hit the thumbs up or whatever platform you're watching us on. If you're on Substack, hit the hearts. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. If you're watching us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is, make sure that you engage, become a member, a subscriber, and shout out to our folks who are on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Don Lemon. And I'm going to mute myself and do a promo for the social media to get even more engagement up, because we can in social media. So Charles, you know what I'm talking about. Charles, you got some new lighting. I like it. You upped your game, my brother.
Listen, man, I'm trying to make sure that I'm ready for the independent media stage as much as I can be, like you enjoy. So any tips?
Any tip? Well, the tip is to hang out with the right people, and that's what we try to do over here, because the good Lord has brought us all together in the worst way possible through leaving mainstream media. But I think it's really important. I just want to note that what we're seeing on the right-hand side of the screen, as I'm looking at the screen, is we're starting to see the gatherings, and I believe this is in DC. I don't know if we have Jim up anymore, but these gatherings are taking place. There are 3,100 that we know of taking place across the country, from red states to blue states, large towns to small, Atlanta to Minnesota, all over the country. And this is just, you're seeing the map there of just what we know of. And Indivisible is one of the groups pulling them together. MoveOn.org is also another entity pulling them together. We're seeing every organization, large and small, come together to try to scream a resounding no to fascism, to authoritarianism, to autocracy. And it is ironic that in the 250th year of America's birth, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, we have to again fight the idea of having a king. It's probably the ultimate irony that you have literal monarchists claiming that they are the ones who are America first. I don't think there's anything, Charles, more ironic than a monarchist, someone who believes that we should have a unitary executive, AKA an American king, who can call SEAL Team 6 to kill his enemies with impunity, who can commit crimes, steal classified documents, enrich himself off of the presidency, bring in income to himself based on his public policy, maybe even bet on oil futures while launching a war against Iran, a country that did not threaten us or attack us. It's ironic, and I would love to have each of y'all comment on this, because I don't think there's anything more ironic than having to fight the idea of an American king against a party that calls itself America first when they're the ones attempting to prop Donald Trump up as an American monarch. I'll start with you, Charles.
Yeah, Joy, I appreciate that. I often talk about the fact that America's future is in the hands of the judiciary. And I continue to say that and will continue to say that, because from a policy and from a legal perspective, this is something that I very much so believe. And I think the point that you made hits home and underscores that, in as much as it's such a curious thing that this president and this party will invoke the Constitution. And in doing so, it seems like they're talking about a document that they've never read. And I'm not even talking about the way that they sort of hypocritically engage in. I'm talking about the fact that they literally don't seem to understand how it works. And what we have seen in the courts more and more and more, it took a little bit of time, but I knew that it would, is that they're being told, no, you're not able to do that. No, you are not able to do many of the things that you have tried to do, which is why this administration continues to take loss after loss after loss across the country, both on the civil side as well on the criminal side, because procedurally they're not doing what they need to do, and constitutionally they are running amok. And so I do think that in the 250th year of America, it does say a lot about the fact that the leadership of this country continues to fly in the face of what the country, at least on paper, was founded on. And the only check that has been viable, in my opinion, has been the people, which we're watching right now across the country, who have stood up and been courageous enough to say, to say no more, and the judiciary, who's been able to look at that same law and say, you are not able to do that. And so when people are looking at the government, when they're looking at its structure, I implore you to continue to pay attention to what's happening in the courts, because Congress is not a body that we can count on right now to appropriately check the president. We all know that. We all have seen that. And so the last stand is going to be from the bench. And I know there are a lot of people who are saying, rightfully so, well, the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, not necessarily the most reliable body. I do understand why people have said that. But even they, at different points, I'm not giving them a whole lot of credit, have sought to check the president and note where he has gone further than the limits of his power are supposed to allow him, as well as federal courts and appeal courts. So this is something.
Have they though, Charles? I'm sorry, have they? Because it seems to me that the monarchist in chief, the royalist in chief that we really have to worry about is John Roberts. It seems to me that John Roberts believes in a monarchy. He's the one who delivered the ruling and the majority to say that Donald Trump has monarchical, uncheckable powers. He did that. So it seems to me that there are 5 monarchists at least on this court.
The immunity ruling, Joy, and and you're right to point that out, is perhaps one of the most dangerous rulings that we've seen as far as limits on presidential power in a lifetime. And I think that continues to be something that even now the Supreme Court partially regrets giving him that latitude. I think you're right to point that out about John Roberts. And again, I am not giving the Supreme Court any real modicum of credit here. What I am saying is that below them, there are a significant number of district court judges and even appeals court judges who have done the right thing and continue to do the right thing. And so I have more faith in the judiciary as a branch, not the Supreme Court's shortcomings notwithstanding, than I do either branches of Congress at this point in terms of the structure of government, putting any type of check on this administration.
We are looking on the right side of our screen. I think Don is still doing promos. And I think he might be
No,
back.
I'm
When we
here.
look at what so we've got Houston,
I'm here
Don,
just enjoying our program.
enjoying the program. So we got Washington, D.C. on the screen. You see it's thickening up, filling up. We can see Minneapolis there in the lower left. On Philadelphia, look at Philly. Philly is in full effect on the lower right-hand side of your screen. You can see Houston, Texas, up in the upper right-hand corner. That's where ICE was doing the unpaid TSA people's jobs the other day at the airport. Don, this is a full-fledged a rollout for the American people. Let me just give you the update on what I was talking about earlier, Don. We've got Ms. Now. Ms. Now is covering these protests. Wonderful Alex Witt just spoke with Senator Tina Smith. And she's covering other cities as well. CNN is now covering the protests as of 1:30 p.m. ABC, so far, no coverage, covering 20 years of Hannah Montana in basketball, according to our producers over on Team TJRS. Fox, no coverage thus far as of 1:30. They were doing TSA coverage and talking about Tiger Woods' DUI arrest. BBC, no coverage so far. They are still covering the Iran war mainly, and nothing yet. This will shock you, Don. Nothing yet on CBS. They are covering basketball.
Guys, I got to jump. Don, I know you have a lot to say about that. I got to jump. Always a pleasure to see everyone. Steve,
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks,
Thank
Charles.
you. Be well. No, I think it's pretty predictable. Look, for the first two, as we know, we were here all by our lonesome. And, imitation is the best form of flattery. So if they're out here covering it, then I hope that they bring light to it. But, as I said, we've been doing this for the last two No Kings, and now it's a third one. And today marks the third nationwide wave of No Kings demonstrations. Virtually every measure, it is the largest yet. There's more than 3,300 events that are planned all across all 50 states. Organizers are calling this potentially the largest day of domestic political protest in U.S. history. So today's protest is part of a series of demonstrations preceded by No Kings protest back in June that we covered. Then we covered it again in October, a general strike in Minnesota in January in response to this Operation Metro Surge, and then a larger nationwide strike on January 30th. So the flagship rally today is really in Minneapolis, St. Paul, that we're going to be watching. Minnesota's ground zero for all of this. So as you guys know, so we're paying attention to it. Bruce Springsteen's going to be there. Jane Fonda is there. I think Joan Baez among some of the people expected to perform. And organizers participating in more than 100,000 people at that event alone.
Yeah, Joan Baez. Had a chance to meet her yesterday at the First Amendment, the Committee for the First Amendment. Incredible protest. Me and Jim Acosta attended with the glorious Jane Fonda, who, by the way, looks amazing. But it was incredible. Oh, she was fantastic. But Joan Baez is somebody who has been at this, as has Jane Fonda, since the 1960s, Jim. And, did have a chance to have that conversation with her. We talked a little bit about this last night. And I asked her, is she mad at us? Is her generation irritated that they have to redo this? That's the generation that fought for civil rights. And here we are again, having to protest a needless war and having to do it all again. I'll throw it to you, Jim. And then I had that question for Steve as well, is whether you feel that the redo is an indignity to the country.
I mean, I think what we're seeing right now all across the country, Joy, Don, and Steve, I mean, this is what America is all about. And, what is happening today is...
Uh-oh, we lost Jim.
Uh-oh, am I back now?
Now you're back.
You're back. Sorry. No, I was just saying that this is the most American thing you can do, to be out here protesting and marching across the streets of your city or town, and government to go fly a kite. And, one of the things that, Donald Trump was talking about last night, I don't know if you guys saw this, he gave this speech where he was talking about how he likes to hang around losers. He said this, he was giving a speech and he said he likes to hang around losers because he wants the losers to look up to him and listen to his stories. He doesn't want to be around successful people because he doesn't want to hear those success stories. He wants to be around losers. And so the question is for J.D. Vance, for Marco Rubio, for Lindsey Graham, are you the losers that Donald Trump is talking about? When I look across the country today, guys, when I see Steve Schmidt, I see Joy, I see Don, I see people who are winning. We're winning in this world of independent media because we're bringing the truth to the American people. Joy's talking about the losers of the media who aren't going to cover this stuff. You tell you're not going to cover millions of Americans taking it to the streets on No King's Day because you're afraid of the dear leader? Is that what winners do? And so, I think that what today is all about is winning. It is the beginning of winning and taking back this country. And, Steve Schmidt is absolutely right when he talks about, what history has taught us, what generations of leaders have taught us before this moment that we're in the middle of right now. And I'm inspired by what is taking. I'm inspired what is happening in Minneapolis today. Think about what people have been talking about. The city of Minneapolis should win the Nobel Peace Prize. I think that is totally fitting, given what Minneapolis has been through. I mean, Don, you were there.
I agree. I agree.
I was down in the mall earlier today, and I saw a young man who was wearing the same little hat that Liam Ramos was wearing when he got picked up by ICE and taken down to the Dilley Family Detention Center. I mean, this is the kind of effect, the impact that the struggle in Minneapolis is having on the American people. All of that says winning to me, that Americans, they know what winning is, they know what losers are, and they see one at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Indeed.
The host of the Jack Cocciarella Show on YouTube and the brand new contributor to The Bulwark, Jack Cocciarella, joins us. Jack, you're in this fight. Jack, are you part of the manosphere? Can I?
The only positive member. I don't know if I want to be lumped in. I just watched the documentary 2 days ago, and it's funny how polite all of those guys are, how like pretend kind they are. Like they all say yes sir and yes ma'am, and like you go sit up straight and shake hands. They're all just such dicks, though. It's funny the facade that they put on. That was my takeaway. I don't know. That's just like, that is something I've observed in life. I just feel like there's a lot of horrible people who play polite and then they're just disgusting and awful. I don't know if anyone else has watched the documentary, but that was my big takeaway. Besides, these guys are freaks and chuds, and Joe Rogan called them dorks. But Don, why are you lumping me into the manosphere? Last time you said I brought up Nick Fuentes, and now you're like, oh, Jack, are you in the manosphere? You're selling.
Well, I was just going to say
you're
sounding like a millennial Steve Schmidt there when you said these guys are just dicks, because that's the level of honesty that you bring. So Jack is with us, but Steve, I think Joy had a question for you.
I did, because you spoke so eloquently about the history, and I like you, I'm thinking a lot about this being the 250th anniversary of the country, and I wonder if you could also respond. I asked Charles Coleman, but I wanted to hear your response on it as well. The irony that 250 years after the Declaration of Independence, we've got so many monarchists in the party that calls itself America First, down from, I would say, John Roberts on down to most Republicans in the United States House and Senate.
When you ask that question, Joy, first off, it's great to be with you. I think about Franklin Roosevelt, and I think about the speech he gave to Democrats in 1936, and he talked about a couple of things in that speech, and two of them I think are apt for everybody who's our age, who's Generation X, that in our 20s was told that history was over, it had reached its zenith, its endpoint, democracy was triumphant, and that we stood at the precipice of peace for our time and all times in an age of unlimited prosperity ahead. And it didn't turn out to be like that. And Roosevelt, in that speech, talked about that there's a peculiar rhythm of history, that of some generations, much is given, and of others, much is expected. And he said of that generation, which we remember as the greatest, that they had a rendezvous with destiny. And they did. And I think this generation does as well. And in that speech, he talked about that we had a king and we got rid of the king, and we had political liberty. But because of the inventive genius of mankind and the ambition of men to become kings, there are new empires, new monarchists who have risen up. And they were defeated by Roosevelt in his day, but now we have Musk, and we have Bezos, and we have Zuckerberg, and we have a new king, and all of his economic royalists and monarchists who want to rule by decree, not at our decisions. And so at the end of the day, this is a perpetual cycle, that there will always be an accumulation of power into too few hands. In the American system of government, its inventive genius allows us to smash it. And that's what we have to do. The focus of politics, all of the issues that we've debated to the point of irrelevancy and staleness, that era is over. The issues ahead are fundamentally going to be about breaking up great consolidations of power amongst the media barons, against the tech barons, the agricultural barons, the business barons, the dukes, and the viscounts of our new age. And that's what politics in a populist era that the Democrats have to find their way to, that's what it's going to look like. And so FDR had the problem, we have the problem, and we have to deal with it as a country because it's a very significant one.
Yeah, indeed.
The host of the Bituation Room is here. I love that name. The Bituation Room podcast and a contributor to Zateo.
Hi.
Francesca Fiorentini joins us as well. Welcome. You're here with Steve Schmidt, Joy Reid, of course.
Hello.
Jack Cocciarella.
Hello.
Jack is already getting us in trouble, probably getting us demonetized by demonizing people. And
Jack's just
using
sitting there. I love that you're
profanity.
just picking on it.
He's literally doing nothing wrong and
Thrown
just
under the bus
catching
instantly.
strays.
Thrown.
For
Don,
no
you
So
asked
Jack,
me if I was in the
seriously,
manosphere. You said, Jack,
the
are you
reason
and
I was
Andrew
asking
That
Tate
was
about
the
the
that-
same
opening
guy?
question. Is he in the manosphere? Don, I love you, Don, but I'm going to have to take up for Jack
So
on this
rude.
one.
But there's a
Rude.
method to my madness. I was asking what he's hearing out there in the zeitgeist, because there are a lot of folks in the manosphere who are all of a sudden having buyer's remorse. And as are,
Fair.
I have to be honest with you, some of our Latino brothers and sisters who are, I saw this report in the New York Times in the Rio Grande, where most of them switched over to vote for Donald Trump. And now they're losing their businesses. They're going bankrupt, and they're saying they didn't think that it was going to happen to them.
Leopard
So
face.
it's surprising to me that these people didn't know this was going to happen when he's doing pretty much everything he said he was going to do, and a lot of what he said he wasn't going to do, like forever wars and bring the price of things down. None of that is happening. Gas is up. So what are you hearing out there? Jack Cocciarella, that's
Oh,
for
that's
you.
me. Okay,
Cat
I'm
got your
sorry.
tongue?
Yeah, a little
Let
bit.
me know when you see
I
me.
thought maybe you had
don't
some
see me in there.
He
buyer's
was
remorse
still
and you were.
stunned by the rudeness. Yeah, I don't think
thought
he
we
was
were
over it.
Francesca. Well, I saw some interesting polling developments that the dissatisfied generation, that is my generation, Gen Z, is incredibly dissatisfied with Donald Trump and his presidency right now. We saw a swing of Trump sitting at about November 2024, -1 approval with 18 to 29, and that's gone to -51 points on Donald Trump's approval. But we are in or at least my generation is one of great just general dissatisfaction that can happen quite quickly. And I think that's why when we talk about what our response has to be, it can't be, bemoaning the institutions or the fact that Chuck Schumer didn't get to, sign some paperwork for an illegal war, but instead that we create big structural change that does not bring us to these places again. And that instead of being heartbroken for the institutions, we actually care for the people who are hurting, because if not, we will just be switching back party control every 2 and 4 years. If we just allow Democratic leadership to continue to fail us, everyone will continue to fail. And I think that we have a unique moment. I think the three of us, Francesca, Joy, we're all going to be at the Choose Your Fighter rally later tonight with the Progressive Victory Fund. And I think right now is a moment for leaders who want something different. Because if we don't, everyone will just continue to be dissatisfied. But that is all to say, young people are pissed and they are looking for someone to cultivate that anger. They could just happily sit with it and stew, or someone could do something about it to energize them. I think there's always been a belief that all young people will organize ourselves. And I was, really hoping that would happen. It's not gonna. We need someone to excite us. Like, we're a generation of people that can't call to make our own doctor's appointments. So don't expect us to organize independently all the time. There are a lot of us who will. But there's a lot of us who will, but you got to give us a reason to show up. Okay. Some of us are scared to call the dentist.
I want to ask Jim or sorry, Francesca, Jim or Steve, I want to hear from some of the protesters who are out there. If you guys, if there's someone around you guys, we would love to hear from some of them.
I want to, can I just piggyback on Jack, what Jack was saying really quick, and also what Joy and Reid was saying. You know, Joy, I appreciate the question. Look, I came of political consciousness when I was 17 and George W. Bush stole an election. And so when I moved to New York in 2001 to go to NYU, what happened in September of 2001? Yes. 9/11 and the ensuing war on terror. It changed my life. It made me a lifelong anti-war activist. And so, you know what? All these years later, I have a 3-year-old, and no, I'm pissed that we have to go back into the streets and fight against yet another war in the Middle East. And I think Jack put it really well. A lot of this also has to do with Democratic leadership and their fecklessness. I think that we've had, 30 years now, 20 years to basically change the narrative around forever wars, around U.S. militarism. And yet every single time, whether it's Nancy Pelosi, whether it's Hakeem Jeffries, our leadership constantly sort of, they, for lack of a better term, pussyfoot around when it comes to should we be moving money out of this bloated military into things that actually keep us safe, like having healthcare, like having a roof over your head, right? Like having access, not even access, guarantee of an education. These are the things that actually keep us safe in this country. We have a massive national priorities problem, and we've had it for decades. And so it's on Democratic leadership to show the vision. Because Don, to your point, I think a lot of voters who voted for Trump in 2024, they were like, look, I don't like the guy and I think he lies, but there's some sort of vision. He's at least naming a pain. Whereas I feel like people felt like the sort of endless fake positivity of the Harris campaign was not even tapping into what they were actually feeling and the pain they were going through. And last thought, Jack, you mentioned young people. Look, man, young people been showing up. They showed up in Occupy Wall Street, okay? If you want to go back to my era, we showed up in the anti-war movement. We showed up in Occupy Wall Street. We showed up for the March for Our Lives to stop this endless gun violence. We've shown up for against genocide. We've shown up against genocide. And of course, we cannot forget how we showed up and showed out for Black lives and saying, stop murdering people in the streets. We need massive police and criminal justice reform. And what happened? Where's the change? What did Democrats deliver?
Again and again.
So this is the thing. Young people have shown up. We've done our part. They have done their part. We need to be met halfway. Because the movement's there, the anger, the organizing, it's there. But stop chiding us and telling them, no, little child, you don't understand. We can't protect you from death. Or what are we, politicians? Are we leaders in this country? So that's what I would say to the idea that the youth are not active. I think they are, but I think they're cynical.
Yeah, and I mean, that is a generational problem that's gone on since Vietnam. Young people protested Vietnam, they kept bombing, and then added Cambodia. Young people, I am from the anti-George W. Bush war generation as well, because I was sternly against that war on Iraq.
Y'all are
They did
young.
it anyway, and they expanded it. And the problem is, we can't make them stop doing these wars. And the parties, both of them, neither of them are listening. They're not listening on genocide. They're just not listening. I think that is very true. That's not just one side. Can we look at what's going on there? Jim Acosta looks like he's got an adorable guest there.
I've got a couple of adorable guests, mother and daughter right here. Is that right? And this young lady right here is holding a sign that says the Holocaust started with mass deportations. Oof. And, that is something, guys, that I've been seeing all day long, is people are saying, fuck ICE. They are saying that ICE has gone way overboard in this country. And sorry for using that language in front of you. You're a young lady, but I imagine that's how you guys feel, that this is something that you're very, very much passionate about. Very passionate about. Yeah. And I'm rise up, rise against, they're saying. And but seriously, this is what we've been seeing all day long down here in Washington, D.C., is that I see people talking about the Epstein files. I see people talking about mass deportations, and even little Liam. Everybody's talking about little Liam today. Guys, it struck such a chord all over the country, what this administration has done to little kids, putting them in detention camps, families in detention camps. It's not who we are as a country. And I'm sure you guys hear this from time to time. I get the comment on my show from some of the people in the comments. They'll say, well, it is who we are now. And I push back on that. And I say, no, you can think that that's where we are right now as a country, but that doesn't have to be who we are permanently as a country. And that's why you have events like No Kings, so we don't have mass deportations leading to far worse things that we've seen in our history as a people.
Jim, I would say for the moment, though, that is who we are. It doesn't have to be permanently, but I do believe that's.
Thank you,
I mean,
ladies.
it's
Thank
happening.
you so much.
It is happening, and it's good to see those. You were talking about young people; they were very young.
Yeah,
that's very important.
Well, I was a mom and a daughter. I think is a mom and a daughter.
Oh.
Is that right? Very nice. I love
Oh my
the
gosh,
dog
well,
outfit.
mom
That's
is
great.
young. Ask
Mom
mom
is
what she's
looking good.
taking, because I
Don,
want
said
some.
mom is looking
We're
good.
all young. No one is old until they say they are. And by the way, let me.
Age
I
is
know,
but a
Steve,
number.
age
Steve's
is but a
gotta
number.
go.
Steve, I know you got to run. So
Don't say
if
that
you
about
have
Donald
an
Trump, Joy.
exit
Jeez.
comment before we free you to your No Kings weekend, Steve, if you want to give us your outro, give us your big outro.
Well, the crowd is starting to fill in here next to the Pacific Ocean in Santa Monica, and what I just
Can you
say
show
is,
us around, Steve? Is there any way you can move your
Can you
camera or
spin?
no, just so we can see?
show
Can you do
the
us a little
camera
spin?
around? They want you to show the camera around.
There we go.
Oh, yay! That's great, Steve. Go ahead.
We're getting a lot of people.
Okay, Santa
starting to
Monica.
fill in now here in Santa Monica, and there's a lot more walking coming into the area. We got police helicopters. We got mounted policemen on the horses. Santa Monica police smiling, friendly in their disposition to everybody. A lot of very funny signs. But there's about 200 some odd days until the midterm elections. And this is part of exercising the muscles for that choice. And we're going to see more protests over the spring, over the course of the summer. We have the desecrative event, this mixed martial arts match on the White House lawn on June the 19th, Trump's birthday. It's also Flag Day. It's also the anniversary of George Washington taking command of the Continental Army 251 years ago. So as we move now closer to this momentous anniversary, John Adams and all of the founding fathers, I think, are looking down and they're cheering for us. They understand that we won't have a big celebration this year, that we're going to have acts of defiance in this country, that we won't submit to this, we won't bow down to it. And when you look out today, it's just a reminder that our politics today isn't divided by progressive versus centrist. It's divided not by right versus left, but by right versus wrong. And we have a supreme moral test for the nation ahead of us. And when you see 1 million people, 3,100 places all over the country with people coming out and saying no more, enough, that's a powerful thing.
Steve Schmidt.
Steve Schmidt
joining us from Santa Monica. His Substack is The Warning. Make sure you check that out. Steve, we really enjoyed having you. Thank you for being a friend of the show.
Yeah.
We're gonna start calling you our
Great stuff, Steve.
international. What do we call him? Consultant, advisor, correspondent, whatever. The
Historian
senior
at large.
international executive. Yes. Thank you,
Emeritus.
Steve. Be well, my
Thank you,
friend.
Steve.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Steve.
Absolutely. Francesca,
More
I'm glad
signs
that you're here, too.
guys. Got
And
some
you're-
more signs.
Oh,
the
go ahead.
sign
Go ahead. What do
game.
you got?
Yes.
What do you got for us?
There
What
we
you got?
go. Protect the free press. I just saw a sign that says protect a free press. There you go, right there.
Do you
People
see
on
my
our
shirt,
side, guys.
Jim? Can you see?
I love it. I love it. Don, show
Yes.
it off. Show us the merch. Show us the goods.
We will not be
Don.
silenced.
Cheap plug. I like it.
That's great.
Good
I
plug.
love it. Got to get the plugs in
Wait,
there.
I like
But
the way
Don, you were saying that the merch, the proceeds for that merch goes to a good cause.
Every single bit. It's on. I'm not doing this because I make money off of it. I don't, but it happens to be on my website. If you go to donlemon.com and you go to the merch store, it is all of this goes to the Committee to Protect Journalists, and this is We Will Not Be Silenced. We stand with independent journalists, the Don Lemon Show, and so does the Jim Acosta Show and the Joy Reid Show, and Jack
Amen.
Cocciarella Show and the Bitch
Amen.
Waiting Room with Francesca Fiorentini as well. Francesca, this is a really, really critical time for journalists in this country and journalism in this country.
I mean, indeed. And I think this is why, I'm so glad that you're here, that Joy Reid is here, that Jim's here. Like, I mean, we've watched you for so many years and respected your work. And the fact that you couldn't, be kept quiet, or that you didn't sort of like, disappear and say, all right, I'm done with, media and journalism. You're still trucking. That is a really good sign to those of us who never actually, I mean, I had like a small toe in MSNBC, but a little pinky toe. But I feel like you all were in, I mean, you don't like to be, maybe you don't like this framing, but sort of a canary in the coal mine. Like, if you can't handle Joy Reid, if you can't handle Don Lemon, if you feel like if these institutions, and you guys, I'm sure, have untold stories of the things that, and the hoops that you went through, and the things that, you got axed at the last minute, and, push and pull with your executives. And even then, Joy, your coverage of things like Gaza were deemed so unsafe. Jim, your pushback on, the White House was deemed so unsafe. And so this is a really chilling warning shot across the bow. And so the fact that you guys are still in it, for younger folks like us and independent journalists, it really actually means a lot, because it means like, oh no, y'all aren't just gonna like disappear and like be like, you know what, I'm gonna, work on interior decoration or whatever it is, even though we all might want to. But like that, I think, is great. And I do think there will be money, and there will be a time when we come roaring back, when we have alternative mechanisms to get our message out. I mean, look, I'm so grateful that we're like on YouTube and we've got, however, 12, 15,000 people, watching. But, like a lot of these big tech companies are not our friends. And at some point, we're also going to have to be honest about breaking them up, and making sure that they're held accountable for also some of what they are doing in terms of censorship, in terms of anti-monopolistic practices and all that.
Joy, I want to bring in someone that you may be familiar with, and because she works for the Joy Reid Show. Is Miss Khan on? It's Nitha Khan, right?
Yes, Nitha Khan is one of our fabulous producers at the Joy Reid Show. She is at the Central Park, New York City protest. Nitha, how are you? Tell us what you're seeing.
Hi, Joy. It's a little hard to hear you, but I'm going to walk around. So I'm in Columbus Circle right now, and I'll pan a little bit so you can see. People have already started marching down. It looks like they're going down Broadway and then heading towards 7th, I believe, and then making their way towards Times Square. And over here at Columbus Circle, it was completely packed just a short minute
Can't
ago.
hear you. Get that mic closer up so we can hear you. There you go. Hold up.
Okay,
there you
can
go.
you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah,
we got you.
yeah.
Right,
when
so
they say eat that
here.
mic, put it as close to your mouth as possible.
Close.
She's from Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, so she's from Louisville, Kentucky, and came back here on vacation. Is that correct?
Yes, to hang out in New York for 10 days.
And decided to attend the No Kings protest. And tell us why.
Well, no matter where I was in the world, I was going to be attending No Kings. I am so sick of the most idiotic, incompetent, hateful, rude, foul people having power over all of us. We are way more powerful together, and it stops now. I'm so absolutely fed up.
And does coming out here make you feel inspired to be with other people that feel the same way that you do, that are doing something, that are fighting back, that are pushing back?
Absolutely. Being together collectively in this moment, I think really matters. The feeling that we all are sick of it. We put up with enough of this absolute nonsense. I could point at any random person here, and I think they'd be a better president right now. We're sick of it. It makes me feel so comforted to know that there are millions all over the U.S. and all over the world who feel the way I do, who just want a saner, kinder world where we can all live together.
It was very well
Hey,
said.
Nitha,
Thank you
can
so
you
much,
ask a
Cynthia.
question for me, please?
So, as
Can
she
you ask
just
her
so
a question for
eloquently
me?
put, I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, you let her go. I was going to say I had a question for her, but go
Yeah,
ahead.
go
You
ahead.
already let her go.
Oh no, I think my audio, I'm having difficulty hearing you guys. I apologize, but I'll just continue to walk around and see if you can get some of this at Columbus Circle and maybe grab some other people as well.
And we'll check back in with you later, Nitha. I don't think she can really hear you, Don, but I'm going to type her a message in her text. I'm going to text her. Listen to me like, I'm going to type her a message in her text messages. That's all I'm going to text her, and I'm going to ask her, tell me what you wanted her to find out, and I'm going to text her that now.
She said she wanted a kinder, gentler nation, basically, is what she was saying, right? But what I wanted to know was there any one thing that was driving her, that was motivating her to come out today? Is it the war? Is it gas prices? Is it the Epstein files? Or is it all of it collectively? But I want to know, basically, what's the number one thing for her? Like, for me now, it's obviously the First Amendment and freedom of the press, right?
Yes.
So I'm wondering what are people's main motivations?
I just texted her that question. Nitha, to check your phone. Look at your phone.
I want to just say that I think she put it so well, and it's the reason why I'm like, oh, we got to stay and fight in this country. Like, we can't back down, because the fact that we are being ruled by such idiotic a-holes who are cruel and stupid at the same time. And I think maybe it was Steve or Jim brought up earlier that Trump said that he likes to surround himself with idiots and morons because he doesn't want, and losers. He said losers. He wants losers around him because he doesn't want to feel like he's being outshone or overshadowed by their accomplishments, which is such an insane thing for a person, especially the president of the United States, to say. And to me, that's where it comes down to. It's like, if there's any reason to get out to the streets today, it's that you could run this country better. You with more moral center, more heart, more accountability. And when you don't know what you're doing, you have the decency and the humility to say, I need some help. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to bring some experts in. What about that? And so this is why we have to fight, because we cannot forfeit this country to such buffoons, because they're really, they're trying to have it all.
Yeah. Did you say chud, Jack? Did you say chud?
Yeah.
They are chuds.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect description of it.
Word of the day.
I wonder if Wajahat Ali can top that chud language. I want to bring in Wajahat Ali now. Wajahat, I'll introduce you. Wajahat Ali is just the man about town, man about social media,
man about
the man
Substack,
who says it like it is, the man about Substack. Wajahat, what's your Substack again?
The Left Hook, because I'm left-handed.
Yes.
A jinn, according to Muslims.
Do you have another word for them besides chuds?
I mean, chud is fantastic. I'm just going to go with the Game of Thrones reference. Reeks. They're reeks. They live permanently within Donald Trump's anus, thinking that there's wealth and comfort, digging upward for crypto and gold, and finding nothing but cankles and cysts.
This that was a weird.
What's this?
It might be more like roids. I got to workshop that.
Jim, go ahead.
I think Reek had his sexual organs removed. Isn't that also the case with?
It's very fitting.
Reek was castrated, flayed, mocked, and ridiculed.
Yes.
And furthermore, look, if you want to see a Reek, look at Marco Rubio. I look at Marco Rubio, like the Latino doing 14 jobs.
The Latino soon to be president of Cuba.
President and Prime Minister, and also Secretary of State of Cuba.
But to your point, Don, what Francesca was saying, I mean, in all seriousness, he's the Secretary of State, right? You know who's doing his job? Jared Kushner and Stephen Witkoff.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Kushner literally has no appointment. Jared Kushner bypassed security clearance. Jared Kushner is the big story that people have all forgotten. Is last month there was a story that said that Tulsi Gabbard and Susie Wiles have sat on a national security warning about one of the people close to Donald Trump who's compromised by foreign intelligence. A follow-up report said that that's Jared Kushner. No one followed up on that. Jared Kushner has no security clearance. He's doing the job of Marco Rubio, negotiating with Russia, negotiating with Iran, negotiating with Israel, and meanwhile, getting billions of dollars of investments from these countries, the Witkoffs and the Kushners. So in addition to incompetence, to what Francesca was saying, these people are the most corrupt mother effers on earth. And anyone who's watching right now, the fact that we're being led into this disastrous war, led into inflation, led into a recession, the fact that life expectancy in America, Joy, has gone down, measles has gone up. Anyone watching right now, if you sit there and you go, who am I? I'm nobody. I can't run for office. These mother effers are in office. We can literally replace them and you will do a better job.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, anyone could, right? I mean, we could go get your average 10th grader and they would run the country better. And watch, I think you make an excellent point, but I wonder to what extent that kind of corruption actually breaks through, you know, and I'll ask you that, but I also want to ask Jack that, because young men are the currency with which the far right and MAGA pays for its continued occupation of our country. They go through young men who are, if you look at the polling, the most discontent, the sort of most, separated from society, the most ideologically isolated, and they are isolated. I mean, Don makes the joke about the manosphere, but maybe I'll flip it and start with you first. But are those kind of messages breaking through, or do young men, are they even paying attention to Jared Kushner's grifting, et cetera, and Marco Rubio's foolishness?
I think they're breaking through in the view of this as a broken system and not just individuals. You know, there's a great man theory of history of which, you know, special individuals are able to change the course of time. And I think we flipped that in our current era of politics. We really have to dumb everything down to the bad man theory, where it's all just Donald Trump's fault. Or the example that I've been talking about a lot on my show, where you see, Democrats couch their kind of halfway criticisms of the Israeli government in just, oh, well, if we could just get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu. And that's not true. We have a parasitic relationship with the Israeli government. It is fundamentally broken. It is an apartheid state carrying out a genocide, and getting rid of one bad guy isn't going to change that. The same thing is true of Donald Trump. If you just talk about Trump, you are not talking about the systems that put him in place. And I think when people just attack the one guy, it starts to fall on deaf ears, because people see Donald Trump, at least in my generation, as more of a buffoon than ever, as a joke. It's just like, what is going on here? But they don't feel it in their everyday lives. I think what they feel is a system that is broken because our social media companies exist to extract enough attention out of us to, do 5% year over year, week over week growth, that their enemy is like whether or not we're sleeping. And so they want to isolate us. They want to make our lives worse. People see broken systems. And so when we chalk it all up to like, oh, there's these guys, it doesn't land as much as talking about an Epstein class, these social media behemoths that are in shitifying our world to make us more isolated, a broken foreign policy that continues to get us into forever wars for the Israeli government or for the Epstein class. And there's a bit of crossover there, you could certainly say. And I think that's the better message than just saying, not to say that I won't have a lot of fun talking about Jared Kushner, a guy who got $2 billion under the stipulation that he wasn't allowed to touch it because he's too stupid, yet we're supposed to believe that the Saudis thought he was a genius and say, let's buy into Jared's fund. Yes, I think we should be talking about those guys, but I think it's a failure of communication imagination when we don't try to talk about the systems, because it is the systems. Getting rid of Trump is important, but it is a step. It is not the whole deal. And I think when we don't say that, we're not making a case that really resonates with people.
Yeah. Francesca, go for it. I think you're jumping in. I think you're muted. No, you're not. Go.
Oh,
No,
yeah, I gotta jump in a little bit because I'm gonna go help host the rally here in downtown Los Angeles at 2. So everyone come out to that. I also think men are fragile. So every time you point out how they've been like duped and how they like young men have like more reactionary views about, gender roles than boomers do, they sort of retreat and they're like, no. And so, there is something I think strategic about, and I also think like people of color throughout the decades understand this about white people as well. Like when you call them on their shit, they get really, really defensive. So we have to put forward, for good and bad, universal program, universal visionary ideas that include everyone, but also can, not flinch at saying we are an anti-racist, multi-ethnic movement like that, and we are feminists like that. That should just be sort of like easy to roll off the tongue. We don't throw anyone under the bus. We don't believe trans athletes, the one trans athlete should be barred from competing, right? These are the things we can say, but I think what happens is the Democratic Party, sadly, because they are afraid to go after the 1%, the corporate class, they sort of rest on very lazy identity politics is what I call it, rather than true intersectional identity politics that actually takes aim at that 1% and the rich. I have to go, but thank you guys so much.
Thank you,
Please,
Francesca.
if you guys want to follow
Francesca.
me, Bituation Room is my podcast. At Franny Fio, Franifio. Bye.
I'm subscribing just based on the name. Is that,
I love that
shallow? I don't know.
Yeah.
That might be shallow, but I think I'm going to do that. You're fantastic,
Yeah.
Francesca. But speaking of
That's
making
okay.
people uncomfortable, Wajahat Ali, obviously, I feel like you and I do it kind of for a living. It's like our side gig. You know, everybody has to have a side gig.
Jack's got to run too.
Jack's got to run too. Oh, Jack, thank you very much, man. We appreciate you.
But can I bring in someone, please?
Please,
Thank you, Jack. Thank you,
Yes,
Francesca.
go for
I want to
it.
bring in now Mr. Rashad Robinson. Rashad is here. He's an American civil rights leader and the former president of Color of Change. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
It's good to see you. Yes.
Hey, Rashad.
Yeah. And any thoughts on this day?
Well, I think
it's all over the world, Rashad.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I know so many of the people that are behind putting this together and that have been working across these 3 different No Kings and every single day are sort of working to build the type of infrastructure that channels this, growing energy, hopefully into our midterm elections and the next presidential election. And so, my first thought is just appreciation for the folks who are waking up every single day, working to take our anxiety, taking our outrage, and putting it into action and putting it into infrastructure and systems. And that's really hard work. And if you've never done it, like it can look like these things sort of magically happen because people are outraged, but there is a choreography behind it. And these moments are important for people to see each other, to see themselves, to feel like they're not alone. And it's one piece of the sort of broader set of actions that we have to take in this moment.
Isn't there a delicate dance, though, because the one thing that I found that I liked about the first 2 especially is that they felt grassroots, right? And that organic. So yes, it is coordinated. So how do you do that? You pull that off where it doesn't seem too corporate, too patting selves on the back, too curated, you know what I mean? Part of it is the messy sort of nature of it, so to speak, the organic nature that I did like about the first 2, but I'm sure you guys took that into account. How do you pull that off, Rashad?
Well, at a certain point, you've got to capture names. You've got to plug those names into a system so that it overlays with the voter file, that we didn't know who's not voted in the last election and who is going to vote in the last election, that we can hopefully push back against some of the political consultants that want us to spend all of the electoral money on ads on TV that nobody watches, and we can start shifting some of the ways in which we do this work. And so there does need to be systems, but I feel you on that. I watch some of the cities that are coming online and thinking about sort of who they're putting on stage and who's not getting on stage. And I do think that, when something shows itself to be a success or perhaps a platform, more and more people are want to be engaged. And I think the test for all of this is how, it's something that I write about a lot, is how do we not mistake presence for power? Visibility, awareness, retweets, shout outs from the stage, feeling like you're on the front page of the paper and people are on your side is one thing, but power is the ability to change the rules. And that requires what I talk about is infrastructure. It requires strategy. And I do know that the people that are doing this are focused every single day about trying to translate this energy into something real.
Wajahat, that's really important. He's right. We like that organic people show up, rah, rah, rah. You can have as many No King protests as you want. But if these people aren't going to vote in November, what does it matter?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Ezra about this, Ezra of Indivisible, just last week, and I was talking about, all right, so you get a whole bunch of folks out in the streets, wonderful, then what's the day after? And what Ezra and the organizer said, the main thing is that we activate local communities to be invested in local politics, right? You want to create a community of like-minded individuals who at the very least care about protecting our democracy and freedom, diverse people who say, you know what, we might not agree on everything, but if we agree that this current class of criminals that is in the White House is not benefiting us, it's not benefiting national security, it's not benefiting our children, and we can do better. So what do? You organize, you get together, you go street by street, street, right? Local community by local community. You take over the city council, you go for the school boards, you organize, you have a list of demands of people running for governor in the state of California, for example, or these special elections. You say, all right, Democrats, are you going to be taking money from AI and crypto? I think we could do better. Okay, Democrats, are you going to take money from AIPAC and support a genocide? We could do better. Okay, Democrats, are you going to sit there and be completely complicit with a fascist agenda? I think we could do better. There's 6 months. There are 6 months left, folks. I think this is a key thing. We have 6 months during the primary season. And I don't know about you all, but I'm done with the vote blue no matter who and put your head in the sand. I think people are done. Piggybacking off of Jack's point, right? There's a need for a systemic change, a transformation. And I think this is what's been missing, Don and Joy, for the last 10 years, right? People don't want restoration. They want transformation. Right. They want economic transformation. Right? Who is going to change up the system? Who's going to tax the billionaires? Who's going to make Epstein class accountable? Who's going to say no to forever wars? And if you're the same old, and you're a Democrat who says, well, I got a D, I'm like 80% like the Republicans. I'll give you some appetizers. Instead of a shit sandwich, I'll give you some shit shavings. People are like, I don't want a shit shaving. I don't want a shit sandwich. I want something new. And so the way to get that done is to mobilize this amazing energy, this group that has come together under No Kings, and in local communities now work, put boots on the ground for the next 6 months, rally, get the right people in, run for office, right? And if there's other ways to also organize. You can also do boycotts. Joy and I have talked about, Joy is a daughter of Black immigrants. I'm a daughter of South Asian immigrants. We used to shop at Target. Black, brown, and folks used to shop at Target. Target said, you know what? We're going to go with Donald Trump and against DEI, the dumbest thing possible. So all of us said, all right, Target, you've made your bed. We're going to take our foot traffic to Costco. What happened for a year? Foot traffic to Target went down. They had to replace the CEO. The magic number, folks, I know I'm sure you've talked about it, but if you haven't, the magic number is 3.5%. If 3.5% of a country come out in the streets, that is historically the tipping point. That's what leads to actual regime change. The first No Kings rally had 5 million. The second No Kings rally had 7 million. Even if you get to 9 million, Joy and Don and Jim, that's a growing movement. And what we've seen from the polls is a lot of these Trump voters are peeling off. The young men, he's losing by single digits. Latinos, double digits. Independents, double digits. You just peel off more and more week by week. Here's the caravan. Okay. Do you agree in No Kings? Do you agree in democracy? Do you agree with no grifts? Come on the caravan. You increase the caravan and it becomes a tidal wave that becomes too insurmountable even then for MAGA.
Amen.
Hey, I got to ask you something, Joy. Don't yell at me, Joy. And I'm not being an air hog, but there's a method to my madness here because I want to know. Did you say there needs to be a restructuring? Is that what you said, Wajad? What did you say?
I said instead of restoration, we need transformation.
Transformation. So what I'm wondering then, is it time for a second Reconstruction? Is that what we need right now as we move into? Because you're right. If these people aren't voting, then it doesn't mean anything. Two things. One, do we need another, I should say, Reconstruction? And the other thing I wanted to ask, when you said people are fed up, I have to be honest with you, Rashad, and with Wajad. Joy and I talked about this before, that people are fed up, and that's good and it's bad because some folks are saying, I'm fed up. Yeah. I'm not going out there and protesting. I'm showing up in November. And then there are those who are saying they're going to do both, right? And so sometimes when people are quiet, sometimes that quiet can be deadly, meaning they're like, I'm done. And when it's time for me to go into that booth come November, I'm going to go there and I'm going to put my foot on the gas and go past the speed limit or whatever, because they are just done. I think, talk amongst yourselves.
Hey guys, if I could jump in real fast, I hate to cut Waj off. This protest march is about to begin. Actually, it is beginning right now. I see several thousand people here gathered basically in Southeast DC on the other side of the Frederick Douglass Bridge across from Nationals Park. My tech has been a little spotty today, so I just wanted to make sure that you guys got a good sense of this. I can hand the phone over to Sam right now. Actually have a pretty clear audio signal. Keep following me, Sam. Keep following me, Sam. And I'm going to see how close I can.
He jinxed himself.
Never say anything about the tech. The tech
you're back.
You're back. Go, Jim, go.
That they could keep us going. No, but this is going to be a sight to behold here, because all of these thousands of people are about to walk over the Frederick Douglass Bridge in Washington, D.C., towards downtown D.C. As I was saying earlier today, there were some early rumblings that they may take this march past Stephen Miller's house or wherever he's living right now. I don't want to dox or be accused of dox, but wherever he's living right now, they're causing some good trouble. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to play out, but we're here. And as Don once said, I'm a journalist. I'm just covering this. But I'm just saying that this thing is about to get going here, and it could get very interesting here in Washington, D.C.
Is there a way you can zoom in on that crowd, Jim? Can your guys zoom in a little bit? Give us a
Jim, as you do that, I want to bring in someone. I want to bring in Jolly as well. And you know, Jolly always is surrounded with protesters. So
I know.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on? We're out here in DC.
They're moving very slowly. I don't know if it's a march or a crawl. I would call it that they are moving towards us as we speak.
No, Jolly, you're on too.
I mean,
okay, my bad. Listen, we're out here in DC, Southeast DC. How are you doing? We're out here in Southeast DC, and we're getting ready to march across the Frederick Douglass Bridge. There's thousands upon thousands of people here. We just got finished listening to a lot of DC organizers. Listen, the message, Don, Joy, the message today is this is great. This shows that people are pissed off, but it cannot stop today. It has to continue. A sustained movement, a sustained action is the only way we're going to defeat this fascism. That's been the messaging from all the organizers today. Every speech we heard talked about how you can get involved, how you can take action after this. And if you're watching this from anywhere other than DC, organize with your community. Listen to me. Time to stop this regime is running out. I know it sounds like hyperbole, guys. It's not. This is real life. They are taking over the country from the inside. So we're going to go march across the Frederick Douglass Bridge, talk to some people, and just get hyped up out here, Don.
And it looks like we have somebody at either end of the march. John just left the signal for a moment, but we've got Jolly Good Ginger on one end of the march. We've got Jim Acosta on the front end of the march. So we're checking this thing from both sides. Y'all make sure that you holler when you see or have anybody to talk to. But I think this, to go back to you just for a second, just on this, Waj, this is the question I was going to ask you, is this is what we need in this moment, but the follow-up, and for you and also for Rashad, is what is the follow-up? Because, right, I mean, I remember Occupy Wall Street, which had lots and lots of crowds, but no follow-up, and nothing really came of it. And so one of the things I have noticed is you haven't heard from or known about a lot of Democratic Party members who are there. They're, I guess, not trying to co-opt this moment. But is this an opportunity for political organizing, or is this just non-political, straight-up social organizing?
I think, going back to Don's point of Reconstruction, if we have to be honest with ourselves, this country has never, ever taken a good hard look at its three main sins. The three main sins are capitalism, racism, and misogyny. And Donald Trump is the inevitable end result of us never being fully able to confront and undo these sins. And you see Reconstruction. What did they do to Reconstruction? They booby-trapped it. They blew it up. It failed, right? So instead of actually confronting the systemic problems that keep plaguing America, what do? We just punt, Joy. And my fear is if you get another Democratic class that comes in and promises restoration instead of transformation, we're going to get a repeat of this in 2032. Now, this is my warning. I want to say it. I pay attention. Mehdi's been talking about it. I've been talking about it. Joy, the aunties are radicalized. The aunties are radicalized by the Epstein class, by the war. I'm telling you, so many people, especially young people, are listening to Tucker Carlson. They're listening to Candace Owens. You all are ignoring them at your peril. Now, why? Because Tucker and Candace are doing something very smart, even though they're complete frauds. We know that, and they're extremists. They're moving to the left of the Democratic establishment when it comes to Israel, forever wars, and their critiques of AI and Epstein. You move to the left on these issues.
You better preach, Wajahad.
Guess what? They're radicalizing aunties in real time. I'm telling you how many folks I hear say, that Tucker guy, he's pretty good. I'm like, excuse me, Tucker Carlson? Nick Fuentes, that young man, I mean, the Nazis, they only get bite-sized WhatsApp, auntie messages, right? And so if the Democratic
Party... I got one this morning, Waj.
What's that? If the Democratic
I got one of those texts this morning.
And you and me and Mehdi are trying our best to de-radicalize. And let's just be blunt, Joy. It's the first time I'm talking to you about this. Mehdi and I talk about this. We're failing. 6 months ago, we were able to win, but now we are failing because especially with the Epstein class, with the Iran war, with, taking money from AIPAC, with taking money from AI, if you have no robust opposition to this, and instead you are complicit Guess what? This is what people say. It goes back to Don's point. Well, the whole system's cooked anyway. All these mother effers suck. So who cares? Either A, you get apathy. B, then you're like, you know what? Tucker sucks and Nick Fuentes sucks, but at least they're addressing the problem. I'll vote for them. And then what you're going to get, if indeed we have free and fair elections, Joy, if in 2028, suppose you get a Gavin Newsom, a white knight who takes money from AI and crypto, right? If you get him in 2028, let me tell you what you're going to have in 2032. You're going to have your first America First Nazi president. And this is why I think the next 6 months matter, Joy.
I hate to interrupt you, Waj, but let's go back to Jolly Good Ginger, because it looks like Jolly's got somebody to talk with. He was waving his hands like waving it like they just don't care. So let's go ahead and go to
Wave your hands
Jolly
in the
Good
air.
Ginger. What you got? With a fetching beard. Is that the angry veteran?
We're having a beard off. We're having a beard off right now. Okay. He sends me green, but I'll get there by 4:20. So he's a Vietnam War veteran. What's your name, sir?
Duke Dunn.
Duke, why are you here today?
I'm here for justice for the people because Trump is off the charts. I figured that out the first term, 1 weekend. I was with Veterans for Standing Rock.
Okay.
I went out there in North Dakota, December the 2nd to December the 6th. We stopped the freaking pipeline at 4 o'clock at December the 4th. I got to smoke weed and eat buffalo with the natives, come back to Virginia, and then all of a sudden Trump rolls into office January the 20th, 2017, and by the 27th, he opened the pipeline. And where I come from, you got one mother earth. You respect them both for your piece of crap. So that was the first week, first term. But now with his pedophile ship, his con ship, his dictatorship, his racism, all that shit, and actually talking about our veterans, I got to share one that I just shared.
Okay.
Because one of the things I heard that they don't promote is that one of the things with their concentration camps, they're planning on housing like 100 million people out of our 300 million people of, America. And they're talking about coming after our veterans as well. If they get homeless on the street, and all of a sudden you got no shelter, no relative, you got Social Security, you got whatever you got, they're going to take it and make you pay for them to.
So what do you think about this right here?
I think this is great. I came here after just coming from the No Kings March over there by the Lincoln Memorial
Alexander,
Bridge. No, Memorial Bridge, D.C., and marching down to the Lincoln Memorial as well, because he thinks he's going to have an arch of Trump there across there in between the bridge and our cemetery, National Arlington Cemetery.
Yeah, right.
And that's what the hell.
So tell me this.
He just
Tell me
needs to
this.
go.
As a Vietnam veteran, is this the future you envisioned America would be?
Hell no. I used to be proud to be American.
So what now?
But now, as I'm here,
What do we do? How do we fix
we
it? What do we
keep going. What we got to do is next time we do this, we got to have all these groups nationwide have petitions out. We the people rule. If we get all these people that are upset with this shit, put their signatures out, we should have that here today, so they have that possibility to do that at all protests. We need to do it nationwide because this ain't done. I don't feel we need to wait for terms because every damn week he's got something that he's screwed up that's making Americans look bad, and we're gonna pay for this like 9/11.
I agree. We got a question for you. Go ahead. Don.
Let me ask you this. I got to pick up on this. He said, "I used to be proud to be an American."
Right.
Can you have him follow up on that? Why is he not proud anymore?
You said you're used to be proud to be an American. Why are you no longer proud to be American? And how can we fix
he's embarrassing this way he's talking. And talking about NATO. I served NATO 3 years. We need NATO for peace and democracy. He's an embarrassment to our country. I mean, I shared something as well about where the world leaders are commenting about and outlining all his different bootlicking team that got to go. The whole regime at this point, what we the people got to do next time we have a march like this, and even now going forward, we need to sign a petition for Article 2, Section 4, or Article 1, Section 8, etc., because he's violated so many of our Constitution rulings and just, made a mockery of America and Americans. And it's just sad. It needs to stop. It needs to end yesterday. We don't need to wait the midterms.
Duke, thank you for your service. Thank you for your wise words. Keep fighting out here, brother.
Will do.
Listen, this is my
Wow,
point.
Jolly,
We got
that was
Vietnam
powerful, Jolly.
veterans out here. Yes, Vietnam veterans.
That was powerful.
Still fighting for their country. And if you look out here, show them right here,
They
Catherine.
need their medicine. Get a picture of my backside again.
Let's see a bigger picture of Jolly. Jolly, can you turn it? Can you give us a
Is that a frog? Oh, my favorite
Can you give us
thing.
a horizontal view? There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Horizontal. There we go. The frogs. This is what we've been waiting
I thought I was
for.
horizontal. I apologize.
That's okay.
That's all right.
We've been waiting for the frogs.
I'm the redneck
Jolly.
of the group.
You
Yeah,
delivered.
look, Joy, they were out here. Can I get a frog interview? Can I interview a frog?
Get a frog in front of us while you're corralling a frog.
Getting a frog. I want
Tell me about
Joy. I want. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Don. Hang on one second.
No, go Jolly.
No.
All right,
Go
so tell me
interview the
why
frog.
the frogs are out here.
Right, so we got the Portland Frog Brigade came downtown a few weeks back for the State of the Swamp, and they taught us about frogging and how we bring in a little levity to our protest situation. How can we be domestic terrorists? We're dressed up as frogs up in here.
So you're just a bunch of radical left fucking lunatics.
We're crazy, and we're gonna dance, and we're gonna have a good time here, and we're frogs for peace. We're peace frogs.
I love it. One thing that I like about the frogs is ICE is out here in the same equipment that I wore to Iraq, the same equipment I wore to Afghanistan, the same uniform I wore that they never earned, and they're carrying their weapons and their frag grenades. And the opposite of them, we got fucking frogs.
Frogs. Yeah.
We love it.
Clearly, they're overdressed for the occasion.
They are, man. They are.
Jolly, you delivered just what we needed on today was the frogs. Thank you for delivering our favorite, absolute favorite thing, the frogs. Before we, Rashad Robinson, I want to.
Here's a DC representative you guys want to talk to.
Oh wait, hold on. You got okay.
Hey!
But you got to tell us who that is. Hold on.
Yeah, I will.
While you're doing that, Rashad Robinson, real quick, I want to get you in one more time because this activism feels so organic. It is important for us to be doing this, but you are our strategist. This is what you do for a living. And, I love the frogs. I'm a frog fan. I'm a big fan of this kind of activism. And it feels good in the moment, I think, to those of us who are already on side. Is it effective in turning more people into really understanding the dangers of autocracy and fighting against it? Does this kind of activism, in your view, or at least I shouldn't say does it, how do we mobilize this energy and this excitement to turn it into something useful to try to save this democracy?
I mean, I think we have to have fun, and we have to be fun as part of our engagement and welcome people in all different ways. I think back, even before Donald Trump, how hard it was in some ways to get Democrats to do the kind of most simplest thing on corporate accountability, for instance. As a longtime person who took on corporations, took on social media platforms, I remember sort of how hard it was for them to narrate for the public why certain things weren't happening, why we couldn't have nice things, and who was standing in the way of that. And so I think more than even sort of these big moments, us being able to be very clear with people about what is standing in the way of change, who is standing in the way of change, and what is the solution to that? How will we hold those institutions accountable? How will we take away their power? I remember being in the room with the day we were trying to get a very simple piece of legislation that would have reined in some of the tech companies in terms of their monopolistic power. And, Chuck Schumer told me that he didn't think anyone cared enough about this, right? He didn't think that there was enough. And there was a piece of me that was like, do we actually have the power yet to make him see that people care? Yeah. Can we force him to actually do that? And I think part of what we've got to do with this energy here is to be able to translate for folks that either you engage in a way that's actually going to hold these institutions accountable, that's going to change the actual rules, or we replace you with someone else. And that's what this has to be about. As it was said earlier, this can't just be about vote blue no matter what. This has to be about what does the future look like and how does the future look different than the past. This is not just a symptom of Donald Trump. We have been building towards this. We've been in a moment of populism where people have wanted something different for a while. And on the left, we have oftentimes considered we have consistently served them the same.
That's right.
Over and over again. And so we need something different.
Amen.
Hey, Jim,
That's
stand
right.
by. Everyone, please stand by. I'm going to
Yeah.
bring in now Tara Setmeyer, who's a co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project, friend of the show. Also with us, Crystal Ball. Crystal is a American political commentator, obviously, and the host of Breaking Points.
But before we let those two wonderful people in, Don,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know.
We
I
got to
think
say goodbye
that,
to Wajahat.
yes, I think Wajahat Ali's got to run. Rashad Robinson. I want to thank both of you guys for being here. Two of the best in the business in terms of strategery, we're going to call it now, in honor of George W. Bush, our first warmonger president. Thank y'all both for being here. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Hi,
Hey guys,
Tara.
I just want to say
Hi,
before
Crystal.
you get into these conversations that you're about to have, the march is now heading across the Frederick Douglass Bridge. The tech demons are not interfering with our signal right now. I just want to let you know, give you a status update. We are finally going across the bridge, and I have kind of a clear signal. But Tara, I don't want to take
Jim
away
is
from
like,
Tara. I love
team,
you, Tara.
we're here and we're working
Same,
for
Jim,
you.
same.
Hey, also, I got to interrupt for one quick second because I have
Go
the
for it.
U.S. I got the elected U.S. rep for D.C. right here, Oye. I got to say your last name.
No worries, Oye Owolewa.
I get it wrong every time. But he's got to run. I didn't want to lose him. How much does it mean to you as the elected representative here to see these people gather in D.C.?
Absolutely. It's really inspiring to see so many people from DC and beyond be here for No King's Day #3. You know, being that DC doesn't have a vote, oftentimes people think that we're voiceless, and we're proving that wrong right now. We're going to Stephen Miller's home, and we're telling him that ICE needs to go, the National Guard needs to go, and DC should be free from all federal oppression.
And your message to the people in D.C., your constituents?
Well, like I said before, we may not have a vote, but that doesn't mean we don't have a voice. And with so much happening, including the ICE headquarters coming to Southeast DC, we need to activate and mobilize against it. That's why on April 14th, we're going to go to Clark Construction and protest them and make sure they remove themselves from that project. We may lack a vote, we don't lack our voice and our fighting spirit.
There you go.
Yeah.
So if you're in D.C., this is your rep. They know that. But we have a voice, don't have a vote. Thank you so much, Oye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Amen.
Tara Setmeyer is very patriotic today with her flag in the background, and she's driving. What do you,
Hopefully
Tara, what
not
did you experience?
driving. Hopefully
No,
riding.
she's not driving. She's sitting.
Okay.
She is parked. She is parked. Is she frozen? I think Tara's
She's frozen. Oh no, she's
there
there.
she
She's
goes.
moving. There we go.
Hey, Tara.
I'm here.
Hey, Tara. How are you?
I'm stationary.
Good. Do not start that car. Tell us what
No.
this means. I just downloaded your Seneca Project video this morning. Put it on my Instagram. It's excellent. You guys have been out there doing a lot of great messaging. And hey, Crystal, it's good to see both of you
Hey,
ladies.
lady.
So let's talk about what this means for both of you. Crystal, I know I'll be with you a little bit later in Choose Your Fighter, but let me start with you, Tara. What does this mean on your end of the aisle? I mean, you used to be a Republican. This is your former crowd. They've gone wonky on you. They've gone monarchist. And I asked this question earlier in the show, but I would love for you to answer it as well. What does it mean 250 years after the Declaration of Independence that we're again fighting monarchists and they're in your former party?
Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me, and thank you for downloading the video. I don't know which one you downloaded. We did 4.
This
No
Land is
Kings
Your
promos.
Land.
Great. That
that
one
song.
is near and dear to my heart because the voices you hear in that are actual protesters from prior No Kings marches that our editors were able to put together and to add that to the visuals of this land. And I just think that song, when Indivisible came to us and asked us to do some promos for them, that song, they were like, it just encompasses the moment that we're in. And I said, absolutely. So I'm so glad. I hope folks enjoy that one. We also did the attack ad that ran on Fox News called Weak. So I hope Trump saw that because, you know, we're good at that audience of one stuff. Anyway, you know, it's interesting because we look at this and I look at the idea of patriotism, and so many Republicans are the ones who are like, we're the patriots, you know, the flag and America and rah, rah, all of that. And then it's like, you are sitting here now and allowing this man to dishonor what this country was founded upon, to dishonor everything about what this 250th anniversary of our independence represents. And yet they try to cloak themselves in patriotism. And Joy, Don, you guys have known me a long time. Don, you've known me a long time. And you know that I've always been consistent about the fact that what Donald Trump is doing and what Republicans are allowing is anathema to what Republicans were supposed to claim they believed, which is why I was a never Trumper from the very beginning. And for this 10 years that we've been fighting this malignancy of Trumpism, this now in this moment, even more, I have never been more determined to see the Republican Party in its current form burn to the ground, because it needs to be vanquished to the ash heap of history. They have disgraced and dishonored everything that those who fought and died before us to keep this democracy going and to keep democracy around the world flourishing. They're dishonoring all of that. And I can tell you that I am not in DC. I'm actually at my local Northern Virginia No Kings for this time, because I just thought, I want to be in the local community and see what's going on. I was in DC last time. I was in Philly the first time when I joined you guys. And I got to tell you that what's interesting about the makeup of people here this time, it's a lot younger, a lot more white men. And the demographics seem to be different this time. You might hear a lot of honking going on in the background because there's still people out along the roadways here. And the people who are honking are a lot more white men. And it feels like there's something different happening. And I actually got into a rather heated exchange at the corner, because we're at the corners where the lights are, and there was this Trump supporter and his son, older guy in a pickup truck, and his son, and he rolled the window down and started yelling at us. And I just yelled back at him and I said, "You do understand that Donald Trump has betrayed you, right?" I said, "Donald Trump betrayed you. He thinks you're chumps." I said, "Is your life any better off? Donald Trump's gotten $4 billion richer. Are you better? Gas prices are over $4. And he just kept yelling, "Trump, yeah, Trump." And his son, who was sitting there, was almost like he didn't know what to do. Because I don't think people have ever said to them that your savior guy, Donald Trump, has betrayed you. People are starting to wake up to the fact that this guy has been full of it, and that he thinks that they're chumps, which is true, but no one is telling them that. And the more that Donald Trump acts like this, and I said, he promised no forever wars, but yet your sons and daughters, you over here claim the flag, he's sending them over there to die. He promised you that, didn't he? He lied to you. That guy didn't know what to do. The son didn't know what to do. The older father, some people you just can't reach. But there just felt something seems to be turning here.
Yeah.
And I think I'm a sap. I get emotional over things like this all the time, because I feel it's so important what we're doing. We're in a moment in history here that we're all called to do something. And silence is not an option, which I often say. But I can tell you that I cried tears today when an older gentleman was driving and he passed by and saluted all of us and just kept his salute up as he passed by us. And we were out there were people with flags, and I had my American flag, and I have a sign, I have a couple, and one of them said that, people died to defend our democracy before us. We're not going to let one man destroy it.
Yeah.
And
Wow,
that's the sign I
that's
had up,
powerful.
and that was pretty powerful. And that's why we do this,
Crystal,
and that's why this matters. That's why what's happening today absolutely matters, and I'm honored to be a part of this history.
Thank you, Tara. Crystal, are you feeling the same thing? I mean, Tara seems fairly optimistic right now. I'm not so optimistic about November. I think Donald Trump and the Republicans are going to try to do everything they can to steal the election.
Did I lose you guys?
And I'm wondering what difference does this No Kings make?
Oh, well, there's no doubt they are going to do everything that they can to steal November. We have to, I guess, make it too big to rig. But I think Tara is right that there is sort of we're coming to a point here, right? We're coming to a real reckoning in this moment. I mean, his cult members are going to be with him no matter what. He's famously says, "I could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue." It's true, right? At this point, I think we know there's some 30% of the country that are with him no matter what, and that is what it is. But I'll tell you, so I live in kind of like the middle of nowhere in King George County, Virginia. It's a very conservative area. I think it votes like 65-35 for Trump in all three elections. And I went down to our No Kings protest. And first of all, for our little tiny town, it was pretty sizable. You had, I'm going to say, like 70, 80 people there. But what impressed me even more was the amount of support you were getting from the cars driving by. Again, very small town, very conservative area. And so I do think that there is, an apathy among his base, and then a disgust among some independents who did vote for him. And then, of course, the Democratic base is really energized and, in a sense, very radicalized as well. One of the things we were talking to people about is, what do they think of the war in Iran? They were just utterly disgusted and horrified. They didn't have these little well, he didn't check with Congress first. It was, no, this is wrong. This is immoral. This is the opposite of what he said he was going to do. So everybody was on the same page there. Obviously, the animus towards Trump is very strong with the people we were talking to, but there was also a very consistent frustration with Democratic Party leadership, where they said, look, we're out here doing everything we can do. We're not getting paid. We're not elected to any position. And here we are raising our voices and trying to organize and do whatever we can think to do. Where are you? So that was one of the prevailing sentiments. And I'm talking about, Joy, from people who are Dem party chairs or secretaries. These are not lefty outsiders. These are people who are in the firmament of the party who had a lot of those frustrations. So I thought that was pretty interesting to see how mainstream that sentiment is as well.
Yeah, I think that when you talk about what Tara Setmeyer was talking about, the sort of dishonor that's befallen the Republican Party, I think the dishonor is shared. And I think one of the challenges in trying to sort of frame this as a D versus R moment is that a lot of people who tend to vote Democratic feel just as despondent and disappointed in their party, whether it's the genocide or whether it's the promises made and they haven't felt kept. I think that's one of the challenges. That's why I keep asking the organizers that are joining this call, Don and Jim, what we do with this, because it doesn't feel like it necessarily redounds to the benefit of a party or the Democratic Party, Crystal, because the Democratic Party itself is quite corporate. If you give us your take on that while we see who Jim Acosta is pulling together. But Crystal, what do you make of that?
Yeah, well, that's part of the reckoning, I think, that's going on right now. I mean, we're doing, Joy, you're participating in this Choose Your Fighters anti-war rally we're doing with a bunch of progressive candidates, some of whom are challenging Democratic incumbents. And part of the message there is we have to have a party that is willing to stand up to capital, that is willing to stand up to organize money, whether it be AIPAC or Big Pharma, the forces that have upheld the status quo and helped march us into this fascist moment. So, that's the place where I'm hopeful because, the Democratic Party as it stands today, listen, are they vastly better than Republicans?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. No doubt about it. Okay, let's be totally clear. But is it sufficient? No, they left the door open for the return of this fascist to the White House in exactly the moment we're in. So, to Don's point about whether I'm hopeful or whether I'm depressed, I would say all of the above. I mean, the moment is extremely dire. I don't want to underplay it. We are literally facing World War III, potential economic calamity. I mean, it could not be worse in terms of what we're facing. We're also facing an authoritarian who, yes, will use war powers or whatever he can think to do to try to take control of the elections and stop what appears to be a massive wave that is coming for the Republicans. On the other hand, I think there is such disgust. I mean, we've seen the way in these special elections, Democrats have picked up 30 seats, Republicans have picked up 0. We see the mass protests, which I think are incredibly important just for people to feel like they're not alone and see that this is a majority opinion. It gives people some courage to stand in solidarity with one another. And then I see so many incredible, brave, outsider, truly courageous, principled candidates who are stepping up to the plate that gives us a shot to have a party that actually will have some teeth and tackle the issues that we have to existentially as a country and as a globe, frankly.
Yeah, amen to that. Amen to that. Crystal Ball, I'm excited to be on with you later. Choose your fighter. We're going to be talking about this this unnecessary war and hopefully not World War III, but it looks like it is a setup to it. Thank you, my sister. I want to really quickly.
I thought it was interesting that Crystal said that she lives way out in the boonies because I often notice her other half does his show on a deck, and I'm like, where is he in the woods? Like, what is going on?
Don, I didn't know you were a Kyle fan. You're watching Kyle's show?
Oh yeah, I've watched both of you. Come on,
yeah, that's awesome.
They're both great shows.
Yeah,
I like
this
anyone
is
who
my
is
town.
speaking
this
up.
Is my hometown where I grew up.
I like anyone who is speaking the truth and who's not afraid to stand up to this administration. And so, I'm a fan of yours and Kyle, and you guys keep going. Thank you so much.
That's awesome.
And thank you for being a friend of the show.
Guys.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Bye,
Looks
Crystal.
like Jolly Good Ginger Don looks like he's doing something fun. Do we want to know what that is? I feel like we
I
want
do,
to
and
know.
I would love to talk to Mohini Tangri, but it looks like her shot is frozen. We'll bring her in a little bit. She's in Minneapolis, but yeah, I think Jolly, what have you got for us, sir? You got to unmute your mic.
You unmute. You're muted.
Okay,
Jolly.
can you hear me now?
You're
There you
silent.
go.
There we go.
We got you.
My
we got
bad.
you.
My bad. Okay, so we're actually on the bridge now. We're crossing the bridge. I got one of the protesters here. Can you explain the sign you're carrying?
This is a sign from the Hunger Games. It's the Mockingjay, and it's basically a representation of resisting authoritarian governments.
And why the Hunger Games?
I just think it's a great example of a government gone amok that really just got out of control and people fought back.
I noticed on the front it says where the file's at. So talk to us. Do you think that a lot of this is a distraction from the files, or is that just part of it?
I think the war is definitely partially a distraction from the files, but I think he's just doing whatever he can to keep people from paying attention to them.
Okay. And so do you think that if those files, let's say this, if the files were made public, what do you think would happen?
I think people would be a lot more angry based on just knowing who's in the files and what's happening.
Would MAGA turn on them?
I think some would, not everyone.
And do you think that we need to do like the Hunger Games and rise up as a people?
I definitely think we need to rise up peacefully as a people.
Thank you so much for being out here. Appreciate you. I like the fact that she invoked the Hunger Games because didn't Trump just announce here recently that we're going to like pick some high school athletes to go represent their districts in a competition at the White House? My first
Two
thought was
from each
Hunger
state.
Games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A woman and a man from each state. Very Hunger Games like. Yes.
Very much. Yeah, we're on the bridge, by the way. Look at this shot, Don. Joy. We're on the Frederick Douglass Bridge. We got it filled up.
Wow.
Left to right, back
Look
to
at that
front.
crowd.
Show the whole thing. Yeah, look at this.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crossing the bridge.
That is incredible. And Don, by the way, we're looking at these shots just to let y'all know I'm trying to look at the screens here. I think we see Boston. What is that on the other side?
Minneapolis,
We see Austin, Texas,
Philadelphia,
Philly.
there. Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Hey, can I bring in someone? I want to bring in Mohini Tangri
Go for it.
because it's very important. Mohini is in Minneapolis and on the ground, founder of the Helios Law and an attorney on the legal team litigating against ICE. And look, for this right now, in the moment that we're in, Mohini, thank you for joining us. Minneapolis is ground zero for everything. So what's going on there?
Yeah, I will say it's very loud, so apologies if you're not able to hear it. It cuts in and out. But there are so many people here right now. I think I can show you a little bit of the scale.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so many people showed up in just a couple of hours. There were 3 different marches from 3 different parts of St. Paul that all ended up coming to the Capitol, and we have several speakers who are going up. We're having people sing, and it is just an incredible environment to be in, an incredible energy. And I have a couple of protesters who are here willing to chat with me. Can you tell me a little bit about what it feels like to be here and to be from Minneapolis or from Minnesota and continue to be fighting this fight?
Have them get as close to your source for audio as possible.
Okay. Can you hear them? Yeah.
No, because are you wearing headphones?
That one moment.
If you're wearing headphones, you won't be able to hear them.
Okay, it should work now.
Yes, that's much better.
Our kids, our future, to fight for democracy, to fight for this country. We're here to fight this fascist administration.
Can you ask them, Mohini, is there one thing, and get the phone as close to them as possible, is there one thing, what's the one thing that motivated them, or was it all of it? Is it the war? Is it the gas prices? Is it Epstein? Is it the defying of federal judges? Like, what is it that motivated them the most to come out? And you're muted.
And it's seeing people who everyday people just being taken away out of their homes, out of their schools, being brutalized on the streets. We can't let this administration do this to everyone in our city, in other cities, in other countries. Like, we need to fight for peace worldwide.
How are they, Mohini? How are they feeling about November, the election coming in November?
Gotcha. I'll ask. How are you feeling about the November election? We have to show up. We have to vote. Show up and vote.
Yeah, don't be afraid to vote.
Take this country back.
Yeah, go to the polls, vote, get out there. Don't let the administration scare you. Get out there, do your part.
Thank you. And Mohini, thank them for us. And I want to ask you, if you're out there and you're doing, I would imagine that you're involved in litigation as an attorney. Where does it stand right now with ICE and with people you are representing? If you can speak about that in Minneapolis.
If you could say that one more time, I'm so sorry.
I want to know about the legal fight in Minneapolis that you are having with people there. I would imagine they are in some sort of litigation against ICE or the Department of Homeland Security.
Yes, so what our team has done is we have about 10 people who have filed complaints on behalf of. We're focusing on people who were protesting and were legalized.
Yeah, it's hard to hear. If you can go back to the phone, Mohini, it's actually better when you use the phone instead of the headphones.
Okay, is this better?
Yes, much better.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's that I can't hear you when this is on, so apologize.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. But in terms of ICE and the litigation that we're engaging in, right now the legal team that I'm on has filed 10 complaints on behalf of individuals who were brutalized by ICE at protests. We are generally representing individuals who went and, they used their First Amendment right, freedom of speech, to speak up against this government. And in return, there's gas that was used on them, there were rubber bullets that were used on them. There are a couple of people in this initial group of filings who have been they've been on the front lines. There's one person who actually witnessed Alex Pretty's death. And so the people who we have involved are very powerful. We're very glad to be able to give them a bit of, to amplify their voices and to use the legal process to support them.
Thank you, Mohini. We appreciate you joining us. Thank you
Don,
so much.
Let me jump in and really quickly know, before we jump back to Jolly Good Ginger, that these protests are not just in the United States. There are protests right now, Don and Jim, that are happening in Paris, central London, Toronto, Canada, Rome in Italy, Madrid in Spain, Berlin, Germany, the Netherlands, Athens, Greece, Australia, and that's just the ones that we know about. I just want to let folks know that this is not just a US-based movement. This is a global movement as well. And I see Jolly's got somebody that it appears he is ready to talk to, but I want to get that in.
First of all, I agree with you, Joy. This is a global movement. Every little bit counts. But I was just talking to this gentleman here. I noticed, first of all, you got your Harris for President shirt on. Maybe if we'd have made that decision, we wouldn't fucking be here.
Well, we did. She won.
Oh, hot take. She won.
There's no way he won all those swing states.
So what do you think happened?
All right now. All right
I have
now.
no idea. Yeah, I think it has something to do with Elmo and the Doge business, erasing the work that he did, but who knows?
So you think Doge came in and covered the whole thing up and dipped?
Hey.
Hot take?
That's a hot take. That's a hot take, Jolly. That's a hot take.
So the question we're having is, what do you think is going to happen come November?
Yeah, that's if we have an election.
Not a hot take. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think would stop it from happening?
It's all right in front of us. He's doing everything possible to declare a state of national emergency for the midterms.
So to clarify your position, you believe he was going to try to pull something like that to stop the election from happening?
100%.
Wow.
100%. I don't put anything past him.
So do you think that the American people, given what you just said, that's a real thing we're saying in 2026, and I happen to agree with you, by the way, do you think the American people are underreacting?
I think you said it best. They're underreacting. We got to get out.
Yeah.
We got to stop it now.
Appreciate you being out here, brother. Thank you so much.
Jolly,
Hey,
thank you.
take,
Let me
Joy.
bring in Sam Forstag. He is
I try to get people to say that shit on camera because I say it all the time.
Hey, if you guys have a second, I could bring in somebody right here.
Jim, stand by. I want to get someone in real quick.
Okay.
Someone who's a union leader, and he's running for the open house seat in Montana's Western District. He is at a No Kings rally in Butte, Montana, I'm told. And apparently, I hear that your campaign is going viral online. Welcome thank you. You just heard the conversation, sir, about November, and weigh in on that. Is he here? Did we lose him? I think we lost him.
I think we lost him. Let's get Jim in.
Go
Jim
ahead.
looks like he's got somebody with an impeach sign.
Sam, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, wait, there he is. Never mind.
I got you.
Hey,
Maybe got
Sam.
him.
Hey, Sam, did you hear that gentleman before? He's like, I'm not sure we're going to have an election in November. That's really important to you.
That beer looks
important to around the country. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm Sam Forstick. When I started running for Congress in Western Montana, I was talking to people saying if we don't fix this in 3 years, it feels like we might not have an election. And well, shoot, now it's feeling like if we don't fix it this year. And it feels like we can. I mean, I'm in Butte, Montana here. We got hundreds of people. I mean, half of them have left so far, but this is, the Gibraltar of unionism, oldest Teamsters local in the country here in Butte, old mining town. And there's a lot of people who felt left behind and disillusioned, and now they're pissed off like they ought to be, and they're ready to start fixing it.
Is it typically your district? What is it, the district that you're running in? Is it more conservative? When you think of Montana, you think of, oh, okay, well, this is conservative. These are people who, probably voted Republican or voted for Trump?
Well, Western Montana, until about 6 years ago, Montana had a Democratic senator, Democratic governor. We were a purple state until 6 years back. And a lot of the state swung to the right. And it was because, housing prices doubled or tripled at a time when wages weren't keeping up. And because a lot of people here cannot afford $20,000 a year for healthcare when you're making $57,000 a year on average. And so a lot of those people believed, they got sold a bill of goods that they were going to fix the price of eggs and that they were going to make sure you could afford a house. And they didn't do any of that. Instead, they just siphoned all the money off to their rich corporate donors, and people are pissed and they can see it. You can't hide a war with Iran that nobody wants and that we're going to end up paying for. So yeah, here in Butte, this is a longtime union town. Last year, half of the union members in this state voted Republican. It didn't used to be like that, and that's something we got to change right now.
And now where are they on that? And are they willing to vote for someone like you, willing to vote for someone who's not a Republican or not MAGA?
Right now people are angry and they're not excited to be Democrats just yet. But I'll tell you, I would be the first union member to be a Democratic nominee for federal office in this state in over a decade. That's part of how we bring people back, is we got to offer them candidates that they can see their lived experience reflected in. And there's a lot of people just struggling to get by out here. And we need to start running people who know what it's like to be paying 80% of your rent or of your income just to afford a roof over your head. And we're going to fight with all the more fire because we know what that's like.
Yeah. Well, Sam, good luck. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. And good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sam. Good luck. Let's get Jim Acosta in there. He's got somebody standing there with him.
Hey, thanks, y'all.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, I got Ray with me right here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you and we can see Ray.
Ray, you got a sign there. It says, what does that say? 89 veteran? Impeach Trump. And can you guys hear Ray okay?
We can't hear Ray at all.
You can't hear Ray
from your phone.
Oh,
No,
wait.
it's your.
Does he have a mic?
The one thing I will say about those Apple AirPods is that they really do. They are noise canceling and they do cut out the background.
Hang on. Just hang on. Just one second.
There you go.
Well, hello.
Share the mic. There we go.
Hi,
You
Ray.
got
Can
it.
you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Wow.
Ray, explain your sign to us.
Well, I'm 89 years old. I remember the Second World War, and I lost everything under Nixon and Ed Meese and everything. I had a nice little bar near DuPont Circle here in Washington, D.C., and his goons came in and destroyed it because we were the meeting place between black and white Washington and all the activities surrounding the Vietnam War. But we amassed our troops and we marched on Washington. And we stopped the Vietnam War, and we'll stop this nonsense too. It's up to the people to get out there and show their color and stop this nonsense. So here I am.
You're that optimistic? You're that optimistic about it?
Oh, absolutely. I've been through it all. I mean, I lost every single thing under Ed Meese and Nixon and his goons, and I came back. And I'll do it again if necessary. We did it before and we can do it again. Remember that from way back when? I mean, we're a resilient people. We've been through this nonsense before and we've been able to shake it off, and we'll shake this one off too.
Amen. That's fantastic. What a great man. What a great man.
I know.
We appreciate that spirit.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank
We
you for your
appreciate you.
service.
Thank you
Yeah.
so
Thank you.
much.
And I was drafted in 1959. And if we had the draft today, we wouldn't be having this nonsense because everybody would have their sons and daughters involved in this and they wouldn't put up with this bullshit.
There you go.
So bring back
All
the
right
draft.
now.
Sir, can I ask you really
right,
quickly,
Ray.
what do you make of Donald Trump, who did not serve, and when he was called on, didn't serve in Vietnam?
He's always been the biggest phony around. I mean, my God. I mean, why you, the press, have given him all the attention that you have for all these years? You've allowed him to do this bullshit. You've never called him on it. You've never put his feet to the fire and let him get away. You've used him, everything he said for how many years now? 30, 40 years, let him get by with all his crap. And so now here we are, and shame on you.
I don't think that's
Ray,
an unfair criticism of the media. I mean, the media has given him attention for 30 years. Not on us specifically, but I totally agree. 30
that's why
years
Joy and I
not
aren't
a
in
free
the
ride.
mainstream media anymore because we wouldn't put up with that shit.
Amen. And Jim as well. Thank you, sir. But I think that's a
Now
fair
we have
criticism of the
a
media.
convicted felon in the White House.
That's it.
Holy shit.
There it is. I appreciate that loving critique. Can we really quick? We have a couple of people waiting, sir. Thank you, Jim, for bringing us the real, keeping it real. We have a couple people that have guests. Amen. Let me bring back in my producer, Nitha Khan, if she can come in, and Qasim Rashid is also out in these streets. Can we get Qasim on as well?
Two other people, Joy. Two other people.
We got two more. We got
Harry
Qasim.
Dunn. Harry Dunn.
We got Harry
is,
Dunn. All right, we're bringing in the
us during
gang.
January 6th.
There we go.
Valencia.
And one more,
Valencia
David
is in Los
Valencia.
Angeles.
Let's go in order. Ladies first. Nitha, who have you got? Nitha, go, who have you got?
Let's go with this in the background.
Nitha, are you there?
We don't. She can't.
All right, Qasim, who have you got?
Right?
All right,
Can you guys
Nitha,
hear me
who have you
okay?
got? Who have you got, Nitha? Oh, we lost her. Go ahead, Qasim, who have you got?
Can you guys hear me okay?
We can
That
hear
was
you.
great. Thank you very much. Thanks for doing that. You're talking to Don.
I'm out of Naperville, Illinois, and this, if you know anything about this area, up until about 4 or 5 years ago, this was one of the reddest parts of Chicagoland. And I'm gonna have my cameraman just pan out to give you a visual. We've got about 4,000 or 5,000 people out here. You got folks all walks and backgrounds condemning this absurdity, this fascism, and I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling people bringing the energy, recognizing the urgency of the moment, and recognizing it's more than just coming out and marching. I'm hearing people talk about voter registration drives, voting groups. It's an exciting time.
You know, Qasim, Chicago was ground zero before Minneapolis, and I'm wondering, how are people still feeling? Is that still resonating even today? The sort of anger and frustration that people felt when you and I were both out there earlier this year. Yeah, it was earlier this year.
The anger is definitely still there. People are still furious about the way ICE is treating individuals. You probably saw last week a U.S. citizen landed at O'Hare and was detained by DHS, basically kidnapped to Wisconsin. No charges ever filed. So this kind of fascism is still front and center here. And if you'll recall, Don, when you and I were out here last summer, the DHS data showed that 97.4% of the people that ICE detained had no criminal record whatsoever. People remember that. And they also remember the fact that under the leadership of Mayor Brandon Johnson, violent crime in Chicago is at historic 60-year lows. And so the people here are pissed off that as things are getting better and better, you've got this nut job in the White House sending his goons to try to make them worse and worse. And so the folks here are united, they're working together, and that's the energy we need to continue to carry forward right now.
Amen. Thank you, Qasim.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere, Qasim. Don't go anywhere. Nitha, let me try you
I'm here.
again. You've got a guest standing with you. Who have you got, and who are they, and why are they here?
Oh, I appreciate that.
Go for it.
Well, the other guy, I
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Oh,
I don't know what happened. I never heard of it.
Nitha, who is your guest? Can you tell us their name?
Hi, Joy, Don, and Jim. Great to be with you. Sorry, it's so hard to hear. I apologize. Let me just plan very quickly. We're making our way, we're in Times Square, so we're making our way downtown even further. A massive crowd out here tons of people. I mean, we've been standing here for a minute, and I sort of kidnapped somebody to be on with me. And please tell everybody your name.
Faraha Moye.
All right, Faraha, beautiful name. And why was it important for you to be out here today? Is there one particular issue, or is it kind of a convergence of many issues?
It's a convergence of many issues. I'm old enough that I remember a totally different America. It wasn't perfect, but it was never this. And I further think that staying home and not getting involved is complying with what's going on, and I can't stand for it. You know, I think that baby boomers are likely the last generation to have realized the American dream. And at this age and stage, I'm kind of grandfathered in. I mean, what are they going to do to me at this time? However, the generations behind me, though, have years ahead of them, and they deserve the same opportunities that I had. What am I going to do? Sit home and watch TV? No. Get out in the street. And the other thing is that the energy, the spirit, the resilience of the American people is on full display at these marches because everybody's upbeat and nobody's arguing and complaining or even talking about the issues because it's clear we're all here, which means that we know what the issues are. That's why we're here.
Wonderful. And you said you've been to all of the No Kings protests?
I said that I have been to most, and the ones that I've not been to, I can count on one hand and have fingers left over. So you've got No Kings, you've got Hands Off, you have Indivisible, you have Women's March, you have Refuse Fascism, and I'm sure there's some I forgot. The good news, though, is that they are now collaborating, which is a wonderful thing because you're pulling numbers from all of these different groups into one massive group.
Mm-hmm. And as you can see, she's not lying. It is a massive, massive group out here. I mean, we've walked at least 10 blocks already, and there's much more to go. So we're going to kind of keep making our way downtown and see where it ends up. And I believe they're coming down 7th Ave as well and kind of converging in Times Square. So that's what we're doing. We're walking along. You know, it's cold outside, but everybody's spirits are warm.
But y'all outside. Thank you so much, Nitha Khan. Appreciate it. TJR's producer, appreciate you.
Harry Dunn, author, political candidate, and former
Harry.
police officer who protected us during January 6th. Harry,
Hey,
how are you feeling about all of the folks who are gathering?
Man, it's great. I will start with this. It didn't have to be like this. We could have been at brunch. We could have been at brunch. It's a beautiful Saturday. I'm here on the mall right now. I'm getting ready to take the stage. I'm right here at 3rd Street in Washington, D.C. And you know what? I always get excited when I see people like this. The energy that's out there, it's real. It's palpable. However, it makes me mad that we're here now because, like I said, it didn't have to be like this. We got to carry this energy into November at the polls and beyond, because that's why we are here now where we are, because people get complacent and think that, hey, democracy is just going to work. No, we have to continue to fight for it for the rest of our lives. Now, I'm not saying we have to be out in the streets protesting every quarter of the year, but no, we have to make sure we're engaged about our candidate. And that's why I'm glad to be running. I'm glad to be running. When I ran last time, it was about the threat of what Donald Trump can do. It's no longer a threat. We're living it now. And he has 3 more years to do even more harm that we've already seen. So listen, I'm encouraging everybody out there listening now to do whatever you can, your part is. I'm not saying everybody run for Congress, because you'd be got to be some kind of crazy who want to go join that dysfunction up on Capitol Hill. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But it takes people that are going to stand up.
But Harry,
it's going to take people that stand up and that are going to fight and do it. And I'm glad that everybody's out here fighting. Look, people are out here. They're not getting paid to do this. Everybody's thanking me for, hey, thank you for saving democracy. No, I did my job. I got paid for what I did on January 6th. These people out here now are showing up unpaid because they care. And that's what we need to see continually, and not just on No Kings 3. Let's take this energy into November and beyond.
Amen.
Hey, but Harry,
oh my gosh,
another big point, though, Harry, that Harry's up against is Harry is also battling for the truth. And Donald Trump, each and every day, his administration trying to erase the truth with the help of some of the networks, by the way, of what happened on January 6th. And that is important that is never erased, ever, ever, ever.
I've always been thankful for you all for speaking truth to power. Thank you all, Don, Joy, Jim. Y'all know y'all got a special place in my heart, and I just love y'all for speaking truth to power. So y'all keep it up. I love y'all to death.
Appreciate you,
Harry Dunn. Harry Dunn, before you leave, can you hear me?
Yeah, Jolly.
Hey, listen, show that crowd right there. I'm bringing all these people to 3rd Street right now, Harry.
Well, I'm here. I'm gonna hop out real quick to tent. We're waiting on you, brother.
There you go. Show your scene.
We're waiting on you, brother. Come on.
Harry, are you about to speak?
Yeah, I'm speaking in about 15, 20 minutes.
All right.
And Harry, by the way, this time around has the endorsement of Nancy Pelosi. Harry's candidacy is for real, you guys. This I think is going to happen. This is going to happen.
Thank you, man. Thank you, y'all. I appreciate it from your lips to God's ears. Let's do this thing.
Can I just let you all know real quick? We love Harry Dunn, but I got to let you all know that Bruce Springsteen is on stage right now in Minneapolis.
Wow.
He's the headliner at what is considered the marquee event today, potentially the largest of all the No Kings rallies is the one in Minneapolis. Of course, that is where the George Floyd protests happened. There he is, Bruce. And that, of course, is where you saw 2 citizens shot dead, one by ICE, one by Border Patrol. And I think that the murders of Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good have resonated and brought back that George Floyd energy. So look at that crowd, you all. That is amazing. It is so large. I will note, Don and Jim, just to give you our mainstream media update right quick, MSNBC, the artist formerly known, is now covering this live. They're covering Minneapolis, New York City, Boston. Everybody's going to cover this because Bruce Springsteen is there. CNN is now covering it. ABC is not. They are covering Nevada and UFO lore. Fox is covering Iran war and Tiger Woods DUI. BBC, no coverage, talking Iran. CBS, no coverage. C-SPAN has now finally started covering. I mean, to be honest with you guys, independent media is where the majority of people have experienced this No Kings 3. They've experienced it more consistently with more direct coverage and more coverage from the streets from us than they have from the mainstream media. That is worse than it was in No Kings 1 and 2. It's actually deteriorated somewhat in terms of the attention. I'm sure everybody will do stories tomorrow. And of course, Bruce Springsteen is going to bring information, but he's going to bring attention, but just want to let you all know. It looks like Nick Valencia has someone to talk to. Should we bring him in?
Yeah.
Nick's the man.
Go ahead, Nikki. What you got? Tell us where you are.
Hey, Joyanne, welcome here to On the Ground in Los Angeles, where things aren't going to get kicked off here for another 2 hours, but we're joined here. Can you guys hear me? By one of the main organizers here, Petra Escobar. If you're watching from California or Los Angeles, you've seen Petra before, one of the quintessential organizers out here. What does No Kings 3.0 mean to you?
To me, it's the most American thing you can do right now in these troubling times as our liberties and our rights to free expression are slowly being stripped away. I think it is the most American thing you can do to take up a banner, take up a sign, take up arms to protest, exercise your First Amendment right, and say that you are disagreeing with this fascist regime that is in the White House right now. Not one party has a claim to patriotism, and I think the most patriotic thing you can do is voice your displeasure and your concerns for the path this country is going down.
And as we're joined here, I want to just take a 360 view here of what things are setting up. This is where the march is going to be, and if you're familiar with downtown LA, this is exactly where all the No Kings protests have been. It's that sidewalk behind me, that's where they had LAPD horses nearly trample demonstrators here back in June. And to remind viewers, the siege of America happened here in Los Angeles. It started here in Compton, in Paramount. How have things changed? How have they gotten worse, Petra?
A lot of the main battling in the streets has kind of died down a lot. I was here June when there was an entire police line right down this crosswalk. I was hiding behind a tree with a friend. That has changed to become community power and community organization. We have taken our anger from the streets into the election booths, into city council, into community activist organizations like Break Ice LA, which is what I help run. We have taken that anger and made it into something more constructive, more political, and going after the companies that are backing the ICE raids like Home Depot, Target, and Spotify, because our only voting power now is with our dollar.
And it's not just about Donald Trump here. I mean, speak on that part. I see a petition behind me here, sign the petition to tax the billionaires. This is more than just one man.
Yes, absolutely. Trump is not just, he's not the cause of all of this. He's kind of a symptom of it. But the cause of it really boils down to a select few elites earning billions of dollars, almost trillions of dollars now, while people are struggling to make rent, are struggling to buy groceries, struggling to put their kids through college. The American dream is no longer working for the vast majority of people in this country, documented or not. And it is a ride to the core, to the point where the only way to really work our way out of it is starting to tax the billionaire class more or less out of existence, because no one needs $1 billion.
Yeah, no. Well, how are you going to spend all that money in your lifetime? Petra Escobar, thank you so much for taking the time with these heavy hitters, Joy Reid, Don Lemon, and Jim Acosta, man.
Salute to Don, salute to Jim, salute to everyone there. Don, you've been keeping it real. I love the work you're doing.
Oh, man, Don, thank you so much, Petra. We'll catch
so
up with you
much.
later.
Thank
Don,
you.
you got a big fan base here. You too, Joy and Jim.
Hey,
Don, they pointed
Nick.
to the federal building behind me here, and they said you must have been walking out with Tupac playing in your head the way you were looking out there, man.
Oh, I know that building well. I spent I spent one night and a year in a holding room in that federal building. Let me ask you something, Nick. You're out in California. Did you expect you have been to, I believe, all the No Kings protests? You covered one with us, the last one. Did you expect this? And how are you feeling? Did you expect the size of the crowd and the engagement that you're seeing?
Let's put it in perspective, brother. This doesn't kick off for another hour and a half, and you already have people out here standing in the sun. You see me wiping my brow. It's hot.
Can you go horizontal for us, Nick?
Yeah, let's see that here. You could see.
No, I meant with your phone.
Oh,
you flip it.
Say one more time.
Sideways. Turn your phone horizontal.
Don's on. He's on the aesthetics.
You got it. There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. There you go.
There we go. HD television.
Part of the controversy here, Don, is that they shut down the freeways. They've shut down the parking structures. They've made things very sort of challenging for people here who want to show up. And so there's some frustration. We were talking to some activists. They're planning on some civil disobedience here later. So that could happen. But right now, it's just a party. You got the bacon wrap hot dog ladies. You got the speakers being set up. And you have that park behind me, which was the site of some really tense clashes in the past. Right now, it's quiet. But like I mentioned, an hour and a half still before things get kicked off. People are already very, very excited. And talking all about those independent superstars you guys hosting a show, they're very thrilled, man, that there's actually independent journalists carrying water for the country. This is not what you're going to see on legacy media.
That's right.
This is not what you're going to see on traditional media. And it's because people like you who are platforming, people like me, giving the voice to the community. It makes a difference, guys. So thank you so much for giving us a voice.
Yeah, but Nick, you got to remind people what you went through, because I remember you were on with me, and we talked about when you were outside that hotel where the ICE guys were staying, and you were on the front page of the Drudge Report. I mean, that was some crazy stuff. Remind people of what was going on in Minneapolis at that time.
We live in an era right now where press freedom is being violated every single day. And unfortunately, not to make the story about myself, but I was one of those journalists who had my press freedom violated and a constitutional rights violated. I had federal agents push me into a line of fire in Minneapolis, despite repeatedly identifying myself as press, wearing a badge. And look, just because I don't agree with what President Trump does doesn't mean that I don't still abide by journalism ethics. And it's that professionalism that is our ultimate credential. And that does not matter. Yesterday, it was me being, having a long gun pointed at me. Tomorrow, it could be any one of us watching this show. It is really very clear and evident to those of us who are on the streets and have been out here that it's us versus them. And if you're not wearing a law enforcement badge, you are treated immediately as, sort of an enemy or a threat at the very least. We are out here because we have a voice. Our voices, it matters. Our institutions have been corrupted in this country, even if the players who work there have not. And you see just the difference, I'm close to my mom just like you are close to your mom. My mom could be a news director in a top 10 market. She believes in what we do because she sees stuff on our pages that is not shown on the news. And it's that silencing that's happening in real time and in a very massive way right now, which makes our voices
Very
important.
true.
Very true.
And
That
Nick,
is
as
true.
you know my mom. Nick and my mom speak when I'm not. They're friends outside of our friendship. And the same thing, my mom sends me stuff from local guys and Nick. And I'm like, we are not, I did not see this anywhere. And my mom is one of my producers. Let's put it that way.
Amen.
Appreciate you, Nick. No, you're speaking. We're a little jealous of your location. It's not as warm where we are, so please stop showing that shot. It's just making us sad.
Hey, you guys hungry? Here's some bacon wrap hot dogs. There you
Now
go.
you're making it worse.
Wow.
Now you're making it worse, Nick. Can we go to Jolly real quick? It looks
Joy.
like he's got someone fun.
Yeah, we want to go to
Thanks,
Jolly.
guys,
We
so
want to
much.
say, Joy,
Thank
you have
you, Nick.
some folks here. Teray's here and Paul Rykoff's here. Joy, I'll let you
Yes.
introduce them, but let's see what Jim is doing.
Absolutely. We will bring them in formally after we find out who Jolly's got to deliver. He's got a sign. Jolly, what you got?
I'm here with, I got several people actually. Number one, tell us about your sign.
I'm here, guys.
My sign is depicting the awful, dreaded arch that Trump wants to build outside of Arlington National Cemetery in Memorial Circle
my God.
to aggrandize himself. And just bear in mind, he's President Bone Spurs, has not served a day in the Army, and yet he wants to disrespect all of the souls that are buried in Arlington National Cemetery,
with Don
who are
Lemon.
there to be resting in peace for all eternity.
Thank you so much for saying that. I agree with you. And notice how she's got the arch here on her sign built out of the Epstein files. What's the semblance of that?
Well, it's just that he will do anything to distract from the Epstein files and his culpability in the Epstein world.
Amazing.
Wow.
I agree.
Jolly, you
Also-
find the good ones. Go for it. What you got?
Also, I'm here with, this is Jake. And you guys probably heard, Joy, you've heard about the Flare movement that had a continued presence outside of Union Station for about 9 months. Jake's one of the co-founders of Flare.
No,
Jake,
you're good.
what do
You're
you
good.
make of what's happening right now? Do you feel like there's been progress, and where are we heading?
I don't think there's been enough progress. I do think there's been progress. Some people are waking up. America needs to wake up or we're headed for a disaster, honestly. America is going to crumble if we don't get up and get going. Days like this are great, but we need sustained pressure. We need to not just show up on one Saturday. And these Saturdays have a purpose. They get people out, they get people motivated. But we really need to get going and sustain pressure or we're headed for disaster.
What do you think is going to happen on the midterms?
Are they going to be fair? Who knows? Probably not. I would guess. I would not depend on the midterms. Otherwise, if they're fair, it's going to be a blue wave and he's done in 2027.
I guess my question is, can we make it that far?
At this rate, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. It's not looking good. Every day they come out with bigger disasters, more power grab, voter suppression kind of stuff. They're not going to really let us get there. They're not going to let us get there if we don't stand up now.
And Don, Joy, Jake's group Flare has literally been encamped in D.C. for almost the entirety of last year. And they've been going up to Congress, every Monday and lobbying Congress to, push for impeachment. And this is one of the co-founders of that group saying, hey, I don't know, we're going to make it till November. Hey, I think that America's crumbling before our eyes. Do you think we're underreacting?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Especially with the Epstein files, the war in Iran, him basically suffocating Cuba. We're not acting fast enough. We're not doing enough to stop this. I don't know why we're not flooding the streets every day, getting this to stop. If everybody in the country stood up, it would be over. It'd be done. Instead of maybe 3.5% today.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake. Listen, also, I lost him, but there was a guy out here a minute ago who his sign said, I chalked Stephen Miller's house. And I said, what the hell does that mean? So I asked him. He said, no, I went to Stephen Miller's house and I wrote over his entire sidewalk in front of it with chalk. Basically, calling him the fascist that he is. He got arrested for it. I thought that was pretty dope. The fact of the matter is, we're here in D.C., and everybody I talk to, everybody out here at this march, if you talk to them right now, there's a unified message, and that's we're running out of time. We got to do something now. This is not just lip service. It's a totalitarian coup from the inside. And everybody I ask, then what do we do? Hey, what do we do next? The answer overwhelmingly is the American people have to stand up in solidarity and fight back together.
There you go. Thank you, Jolly Good Ginger. Always bringing us the dope guests. We appreciate that. Let me bring on a couple of other another dope guest here. Paul Rykoff, our dear friend, independent journalist, independent period, and a guy whose basketball game I interrupted the other night to get on the Joy Reid Show. And also our friends, speaking of independent media, Teray, host of Teray News TV, right here on the YouTube. Guys, let's get you guys in that order. I want to start with you, Paul. We are in the midst of apparently pre-World War III. Is that coming up among the people that you're talking with, and where are you?
Right, yes. Right now I am on 49th and 7th, Joy, and the crowd is huge. I'm under a giant Mario Brothers ad, which is kind of surreal. But the energy here is really, really inspiring. I mean, there's so much diversity, and there's so many fucking people. I mean, this is a lot of people. And I've lived in New York my whole life. I've never seen something this big. And I think, yes, everybody is supercharged by the war in Iran. I think that every protest has gotten bigger, but now that this Iran war is unfolding, caskets are coming home. I'm seeing a lot more veterans, and I think it's broken a seal for people who wouldn't otherwise protest. So this is a tipping point. I think it's a tipping point also because we're actually unified as a country. Like, we haven't been unified in a long time, but we were unified around ICE. And now we're unified against the war in Iran. And I think it's created kind of a triangulation around Trump, especially with independents and Republicans, that we've never seen before. So this is amazing level of creativity, energy, positivity. So many kids and families. I mean, you got people from all backgrounds here. And I think it's really sending a statement, not just to the country, but to the world, that we're not all fucking crazy. And that we don't all, you know, there has to be an alternative narrative to the world from America. And this is what it looks like.
Thank God, because we're not all fucking crazy. We need somebody to know that. And Teray, the other project I love that you do is Culture Fries. I want to talk about the cultural kind of moment that we're in a little bit. This is your sweet spot. But can you kind of give us a reset on where we stand right now with all these protests going on globally, not just here in the U.S.?
Oh my God. I mean, the entire world is against the Iran war. The polling in England and in Europe is lower than it is here. About 60% of Americans oppose doing this at all. About 60% of Americans oppose how we're doing it. The numbers in Europe are even lower than that. That's part of why they're not getting involved. The numbers in Asia are even lower than that. That's why they're not getting involved. Nobody finds this war legitimate because it's not legitimate. I hope that we have said on this broadcast multiple times, this is an illegal war against an enemy that was not attacking us, and is also now saying, hey, I will stop if you stop attacking us in Iran and in Gaza and in Lebanon, because those are all one struggle to Iran. And those of us who understand the Middle East understand those are all one linked struggle. So stop attacking us in all these different fronts. Now, you can imagine how Israel is going to respond to that. So I'm wondering, how do we even get out of this? Because this is not just military now. It's also an economic warfare as far as the Strait of Hormuz and what's going on there. So we are trapped. This is a quagmire of the sort that Trump said we were not going to get into. No more forever wars. He saw the Middle East as this potential sort of thing that could grab you and hold on to you forever, like Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. And yet, here we go again. He was talked into this madness by Netanyahu, and here we are again in another Middle Eastern quagmire, another American president who doesn't know how to get out of a war that Israel wants this very badly. I just looked up this morning, Joy. Israeli Jews want this at a clip of 90%. The Israeli left wants this at a percentage of like 75%. So they are all in. This is the best thing that Netanyahu's done in years for them. So he is full steam ahead. The people are behind him. The Iranian government wants to continue fighting. Trump clearly wants to get out and doesn't know how.
Yeah.
So this is a mess.
Well, apparently he's bored with it. I mean, that's the reporting, is that he's bored. He wants to move on. He wants to move on. How do you move on?
Reality TV show.
I am so proud of the way Jim Acosta has rebounded from whatever happened at CNN to being an independent media star, Substack star, YouTube star, TikTok. I love that. And Joy, I talk to you all the time. Don, I haven't talked to you in a minute, how was
I was
it
on your show.
inside?
Oh, sorry,
No.
not since then.
Like, so since you've been inside, like since you became a real man, like how was it? Are you? Thank you. How was the food? Did the Crips hold you down?
Y'all gonna have a side conversation about Don's
do
life
that.
outside of CNN on this broadcast right now. Our main job before we get off of this show, and you can help with that, Teray, is we have to come up with a name for Jim Acosta's fans. There is a Jim Acosta thirst revolution that is taking place that no one anticipated when he left CNN and went into independent media. So everybody needs to, we're going to crowdsource the idea of what we're going to call the Jim Acosta superfans because they're out there. But let me go really quick back out to the streets because we got to get a little bit more before we finish. Do we have more people in these streets? Paul, do you have somebody next to you?
Joy, can I show you something real quick, Joy, before you do that?
Please, Jolly, do it. Yes, please.
Yeah, because I'm in. All right, so if you look right here in front of me on the ground, so the guy I told you who lit up Stephen Miller's sidewalk with chalk, in honor of that, all of DC did it today. So right behind us is Stephen Miller's house. This is where he lives. All right.
Oh, God.
And if you look at the messages that everybody
looks like a prison.
Is that prison?
Exactly.
Looks like a prison.
We don't want to dox the guy.
walls.
Don't talk about where he lives.
Fuck it. I'll
so
give you his
don't-
address. I'm kidding. All right. check it out.
No.
It's a joke. It's a joke. Even right here, somebody wrote, let's read some of this. Stephen Miller's lair, fire Miller, free DC, fuck fascists. But I found an empty block, and I want to leave a message here from Joy Reid and Don Lemon and Jim Acosta. So what should we leave? It's you guys' message. What do you want to say?
You leave me out of this one.
Don Lemon. Hey, Don.
He already got a case.
Right at Lemonheads.
Hang
leave
on.
me out of this one, Jolly.
I'm not doing it, Don. Free Don Lemon. All right.
Signed Joy Reid. There you go.
All right. Signed Joy. I'm gonna do a Joy Reid signature. Joy.
Joy, this is literal white splaining. He's using your voice.
Katie Miller is going to come after us now. I hope you guys know this. Jesus
Or
Christ.
in my nightmares because he's a bit Nosferatu-like. So I might see him in my.
Listen, thanks for having me on here. I have to go. I gotta go to the stage and do some stuff. Thanks for your continued coverage. Joy, Don, Jim, love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jolly. Thank you, Jolly. Let's see. Nick Valencia, help a brother out. You got anybody out there?
Oh no! Do we lose Nick? He's adjusting his
Nick.
camera. Let's get a final comment from Paul Rykoff before we end this here, Paul, because you're in the thick of it. So let's get another comment from you. Have you give us just a sort of feeling and the vibe, or talk to somebody if you can. If you can grab somebody next to you, grab them.
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, what about the accostinators? I think that's a potential idea.
Accostinators.
All right. I like that.
I'm going to noodle on that. I like it.
Don Lemon, I haven't seen you since they arrested you, and I just want to give you props and support. And I want to remind everybody that if they could come after Don Lemon, they could come after anybody. And that's a shock to across the bow of our democracy. And I don't think it's gotten enough attention and respect. But much respect to you, my old friends, for all you've been doing. Look, let me tell you something. It's kind of surreal to be between the M&M store and like Platinum Dolls Strip Club and then a giant cannabis sign. But in reality, when men and women are in harm's way right now getting shot at and killed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we have to always ground it in the reality of the fact that right now, young men and women are in harm's way, over 50,000 of them, right? And by the time this weekend is over, he could put tens of thousands on the ground. And I think that's really, really important to understand because I've said this before to you, Joy. He's all gas and no brakes. It's not just about Iran, it's about a forever war. Iran is just number 9 on a long list, which could include Cuba and could include Colombia. I mean, he's telegraphing his punches. So a lot of people are out here today to oppose forever wars. And that's very, very important as a galvanizing moment for America. Yeah.
So true.
And Paul, look, that is the 50,000 that matters, not the Dow. The Dow is at 50,000. That's not the number that matters. And I'm glad you're bringing that into perspective.
Can we also note that 1,500 Iranian civilians have been killed by us? In this, and there are actual combatants who are fighting against them, and then there are civilians, including 170 girls who are at school, people who are in hospitals. So I mean, we have bombed their basic infrastructure, schools, hospitals, buildings, not just
Stadium.
military installations.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
A
and
soccer
I'd say
stadium.
something else too, guys, that I just want to, you know, I'm not a big fan of like the term "no kings," just because I think it requires too much explaining. I think if this was just called "No Trump," we might have 3x the number of people that we have right now. And if it was no forever wars and no ICE, we'd have even more people. And it's growing, right? Because people don't care what it's called anymore. They're coming out to say hell no. And especially when it comes to war, this is a unifying moment. And I think that's really important. We've never had everybody together. And we're kind of together now. So now we got to turn it into change.
Yeah, maybe it should be called No Dummies, because the stuff we're doing is dumb.
Well,
hey, Paul,
I got to put this sign up here.
There you go.
For a lot of people.
There you go.
Hey,
war is
Paul,
Operation
people are
Epstein
working
Fury.
in the background to try to get us together for a while now. So I hope to see you either on my show or I'll come do some stuff for you. But thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And as a veteran, I just want to know, as someone who served this country, what do you think of how our Defense Department is handling this, or our War Department is handling this?
There's no such thing as a Department of War.
I know.
No, I think it's really important. You know, Joy and I have talked about this before. He's not the Secretary of War.
Yeah.
He's the acting Secretary of Culture War.
Yeah.
He is a culture warrior that's been installed in the most important position in the cabinet. And this has always been the plan. So I would urge everybody to understand that the plan was to send a radical culture warrior into the Pentagon to wage culture war within the Pentagon. They have succeeded. They have captured the Pentagon. Now they are turning the Pentagon on the world. Right? So 2025 was really about taking over America. Now they want to dominate the Western Hemisphere and use the Pentagon as the vehicle to do that. So Pete Hegseth is obviously disqualified. He's rattled. And I just would say, you know, don't cheer for his demise, because our enemies are celebrating. And we are all less safe. We're lucky right now that so many, you know, cops and first responders are out here protecting our right to protest. But we've never been less safe. And it's in large part because of his failed leadership. Any Republican or Democrat who hasn't already tried to remove him, it's wrong. I'm an independent. 45% of this country is independent. And a lot of that is because we're fed up with both parties and we think that they both failed us. So this is gut check time, right? You can't, for everybody. You got to stand up and be counted.
I'm curious how Paul feels as a military man, seeing we are not winning this conflict. And part of America has always been, we have the baddest military in the world and we can accomplish anything militarily very quickly. And that's just not a Trump thing. That has been always part of the subtext of America. We hit them with as much as we possibly can. We have dropped more Tomahawk missiles on Iran than in any conflict in the last century. And they're still fighting. And they're still on their feet. And they're still blocking Hormuz. They're still dropping bombs on Tel Aviv. They've destroyed all our bases in the Middle East. This is a military failure for us. How do you rectify that? How do you feel about that? How do we even make sense of that?
Well, you know, I don't know if I'd necessarily call it a failure, because here's the thing. It's so far from done, right? I mean, there's an old saying that when you upset the hornet's nest, the hornets decide when it's over. And that's what's happening right now. The lid is blown off on Iran. And even if we pulled out tomorrow, there's still going to be death and destruction across the region. So we've got to just appreciate the fact that the missile attacks are daily. The drone attacks and the drone threats are regular and rising. And they don't just stop at our water's edge. Drone attacks on U.S. soil are something we definitely are underprepared for. We've seen drone operations over military bases in the U.S., and we are really, really less safe than ever before. And that's what you got to call them on, because Iran seems so far away. But the war is very real for the people in Ukraine, very real for the people in Tel Aviv, and it could increasingly become real for us. So we've got to always hold them accountable to that lack of safety and the waste of our military, right? Our blood, our treasure, our men and women who are in harm's way right now. And there are a lot of vets here. I'm walking about a block ahead of a giant Constitution, which is pretty damn inspiring, because that's why a lot of people are here, because they understand the Constitution. And when it comes to war, thank you, man. When it comes to the Constitution, you know, the Congress is supposed to decide. And he's just blown past them. They're not even a speed bump. No. So it's long past time for our Congress to try to reel in what has become a forever war. And if they can't, the people need to do it. They shut down the government over ICE. They shut down the government over DHS and over healthcare. How about shutting down the fucking government over an never-ending illegal war that's killing sons and daughters? Gut check time, America. Where are you at? Let's go. Come on.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, right now we don't have a Congress with any spine in its leadership that is willing to take on Donald Trump when it comes to this war. And Paul, you're absolutely right. And the other thing that I think is very concerning to me and should concern a lot of Americans is what Pete Hegseth said the other day when he was with Donald Trump. He said that he would like the Pentagon to be a partner when it comes to domestic law enforcement, when it comes to dealing with things in the United States, where the United States military should have no place.
Right.
And I'm telling you, these are sneak previews of coming attractions, folks. And I just want to
this is the most important story in America. I'm going to keep saying it. He can do anything he wants with the most powerful military the world has ever seen. That includes putting them in U.S. cities. They are right now extended in D.C. until 2029. He said out loud yesterday he wants them in New York City and he wants them in Chicago. ICE is giving you a preview of what they want to do to interrupt the election. Steve Bannon said it this week. They're good at checking IDs. They're doing it at the airports. That is a warm-up for what they want to do to disrupt the election. So especially to all the Democrats who think we can just wait till November. He can invade 3 more countries between now and November and have troops in U.S. soil and invoke the Insurrection Act. That is the plan. Right. And they are on plan. And imagine how much farther ahead of plan they would be if Hegseth and Noam weren't fucking up all the time.
If they weren't incompetent, we'd be in far worse shape. You're absolutely right. We're only being saved at this point by their incompetence.
Thank you, Paul.
Great stuff, Paul.
You got it, guys.
Right,
thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
People out here, all these people out here are being brave, man. Courage is contagious. Keep it going, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank them all for us. We
Hey,
appreciate
Teray, you were talking about the moment that we're in before we went to Paul there. What do you want to say?
I mean, we're in a war that we don't know how to get out of, that Israel wants to perpetuate, that Iran wants to perpetuate until Israel and America are like, we don't want to go back there. So how do we get out of that? What are we supposed to do? We cannot negotiate. My God, the attempt at diplomacy from Trump over the last week, announcing publicly that the Iranians were begging him secretly for negotiations and to end this, and the Iranians coming out and be like, we said no such thing. We don't even make demands, and they have made demands, but they're not making new demands right now. They are not negotiating. We do not want a ceasefire. We want you to regret having ever come this way. And when you remember that America and Iran were engaged in fruitful and productive good faith negotiations the day before the first bombing that was scheduled to continue a few days later, the Iranians are like, how can we trust them? We were negotiating and you started attacking us. They had made serious concessions to not have a nuclear future, and then America attacked them. So why would we negotiate with you again? You are not an honest broker. So we have a president whose word means nothing on the world stage. When he threatens them, they don't listen. When he tries to negotiate with them, they don't listen. When he calls for the rest of the world's help, they don't listen. That is a very dangerous place for America to be in, and we are very isolated. And the world that we have always known, where America is the big power in the world, supposedly keeping peace in the world, that is over. We are not the most powerful nation in the world. There's not one nation that has usurped us yet, but we are in a sort of balkanized situation in the world now, which none of us have ever seen.
Yeah, it's a multipolar world, and we don't run it anymore. Let's get Nick Valencia in. God, looks like he's got someone to talk to. Nick.
Yeah, and Nick, I just want to say, Nick, you're kind of just getting started there. Well, the
can you guys hear me now? Okay, just to pick up on that last point, you also have legacy media making excuses for the president. And when we saw him claim that he was negotiating with Iran, I don't think that there was a mistake that he was on his way to do an interview with CNBC. The markets were watching. And then you have those same anchors that turn around after Iran released a statement saying, what negotiations? And they said, well, of course they wouldn't admit if they were real because it's a death sentence in Iran. It is so beyond anything being straightforward in Trump's America. Nothing is straightforward in Trump's America. And let me, I'm juggling all this by myself here, guys. And if anyone knows that, it's our guests who are joined here by Alex Augustine. She's somebody who was charged by the feds. Here, Alex, why don't you hold that so I can get my act together?
Hello.
Alex is also one of the, can you guys hear me here? Alex is also one of the quintessential activists here in Los Angeles, and she was charged with a federal assault on an agent for using a 15-ounce umbrella to shield her face from being basically sprayed with bear spray.
Yeah.
Tell us about what you've gone through here.
I mean, it's been a really chaotic journey. After my arrest, we're still fighting charges. I am still in court proceedings till this day. I have court again on April 14th for charges that were added after I refused to accept 3 different plea deals. So it's just a lot of bullying, a lot of intimidation from our government. They know that they do not have a leg to stand on, and watching all of the other protesters and journalists and activists stand up and fight against this government just like I am is the exact reason we are all out here today, because we will not be intimidated.
It's not just that you beat the first charges. You've been charged again. You're going to have to go back to court. I don't really understand what happened to double jeopardy. It seems like they're going after you for the same thing.
Yeah, they
That's
added
only
2
murder,
extra charges
Nick.
initially, and the judge deemed one of them duplicative and excessive, but allowed the other one to remain. And so that last charge is failing to follow a lawful order is what I have to go to federal court for.
Wow. And then everyone that has sort of any sort of criticism against the Trump administration at this point is seen as an activist. I was mislabeled as a domestic terrorist. Can you speak on just how difficult it is to be part of this resistance? And it seems like it's common sense, but you're being labeled as sort of somebody people should be afraid of.
I would not say it's difficult at all. I love the saying, like, all of my heroes are on the CIA watch list and all of your heroes are on the Epstein files.
Come
so
on.
at the end of the day, I'm not really worried about it, because we all know what we're out here fighting for. It is very easy to be a part of the resistance because we are all on the right side of history, and that should be an easy decision to make for everyone.
What do you say to those people who say that nothing has changed, that nothing is really moving forward, that Trump keeps getting away with everything?
Keep watching. Or people are working really hard behind the scenes, and it may not seem like it in this moment, but the revolution does not happen overnight. You will see it. We are all going to see the fruits of the labor like this, and we are all going to see the repercussions of allowing someone like Donald Trump and his regime to slither their way into the White House. So just keep watching.
Wow, we're going to keep watching. Thank you so much.
Standing
It's
on
Alex
business.
Augustine, one of the, I love you too, one of the big activists here in Los Angeles. And we joined you about 30 minutes ago, and just in that time, guys, you could see how much the crowd has swelled. Things kick off here in Los Angeles at 2 p.m. local time.
Wow,
Thank you,
that was a
Nick. You're
great
doing
interview.
such great work out
Thanks,
there.
Nick.
I mean, she's fantastic. And look, she's not the only one. I mean, we don't like what she's going through, but she isn't the only one that's dealing with that. There are thousands of people across the country who are dealing with the same sort of things, and similar things. Myself, one of them. So I can relate to her story of just about just adding on top of things, and prolonging because there are no resources. The government has very few resources. A lot of people have quit, and a lot of these things are just frivolous. And it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to them what the outcome is. They just want to put people and make the process painful.
It's federal harassment. I mean, it's official harassment. I mean, the idea is they know that they cannot defeat opposition to them. They can't change the way people feel about them. So they're just going about harassing journalists, harassing protesters, and they're using the legal system as a harassment vehicle, not as a vehicle to adjudicate or bring justice. It's a shameful place for us to be as a country when essentially Pam Bondi is basically Donald Trump's chief troll, and she's using the Justice Department to simply harass people for doing their jobs or for protesting, basically criminalizing the First Amendment. I think that's one of the big reasons why we're here, friends, is that the First Amendment is what we're seeing on all of these screens, what you're seeing in Minneapolis, what you're seeing in DC and in New York and in Kansas and Wyoming and Virginia. This is the First Amendment. The First Amendment enshrines not just your right to do journalism and to do art, but also to protest. And I think that's why this is so important that we're seeing this here today.
I want to. I want somebody to leak Don's mugshot, because I'm sure it was like the most stylish, best-looking mugshot that you will ever see. Like, I'm sure he was like, he's like, Tori, shut up. But when Nick mentioned what our friends at the old places are doing, and a lot of them covered this by saying, this happened in Iran, and then Trump said a dumb thing. And the dumb thing doesn't really relate to any reality around what's going on in Iran. But then we get wrapped up in Trump said a dumb thing, and we're talking about that. And I'm like, that doesn't have anything to do with what's actually going on. And the people who are fighting, the people who are dying, the people who are getting injured over there, the real Sturm and Drang of what's happening in Iran and in Tel Aviv and in the rest of the Middle East has nothing to do with Trump saying, we won, but we need to win a little bit more. So let's do a whole segment unpacking what that means.
But
and like, we're trying to have a real
it's worse than that.
We're trying to have a real conversation about this, and that is not a real conversation.
Yeah, and it's even, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's even worse than that, because what you get is Donald Trump said Iran is ready to negotiate. And then that's the end of the analysis. There's no analysis as to whether there's any truth behind that. Donald Trump can make any claim he wants, or even just type a claim into Truth Social, and suddenly much of the corporate media simply regurgitates what he said, and his statements alone become news. And I think that there's no challenging it.
And there's lots of video from Iranian leaders and spokespeople saying their position.
Opposite.
Iran has made 5 clear demands around, this is what we need to end this conflict. If you watch the places we used to be at, you don't know that. That's insane.
Yeah.
How could we not be discussing?
Well, and I don't know if you guys saw this. I mean, just today, the Washington Post was reporting the story that Donald Trump told in the briefing room the other day about the Sharpies. You know how he was talking about the Sharpies for like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Apparently completely made up. The Washington Post contacted the Sharpie company, and they said they did not have this conversation with Donald Trump. And so he makes up anything.
We know. He just makes shit up, and you know when he's lying, because especially when he starts to talk really low. Yeah,
they called me sir.
Give him the type of shit.
Can I just say this, Jim, to you?
One of our first, real quick, we've just seen maybe our first, just to note, we've seen probably our first politician on the stage, Bernie Sanders. I want to note that there haven't been a lot of elected officials getting to take the mic at these protests, but go on. I just want to note that there's one, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, let me just say this, Jim. You know, there was this big, strong guy. This big guy came up to me, tears in his eye, big, handsome, strong. He said, "Sir, sir." And he's like, his unit was bigger than Arnold Palmer's. And it's like he is the gayest president we've had.
He was saying it the other day about ICE. He was talking about how
to be president for life. He said,
what did he say? He was saying that ICE was muscular. Did you see this the other day? He was tweeting about how ICE was, they were all muscular and they're big muscles.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm like, dude, you know, you can have a good life. Just come out and say it. It's all right. It's fine.
Well, wait.
All right, guys.
What was the thing?
You're almost 80.
Make this stop.
On Fox, when she asked him about the welfare of the Iranian people, you're bombing them. Like, do they have food? Do they have water? Are they okay? And he was like, hey, remember when we had lunch in Trump Tower? You're better looking now than
and
you
you're
were
so
20
hot
years ago."
now.
And he also talked about bin Salman, Prince bin Salman having to suck up to him, you know, sort of insulting his good friend bin Salman. It's a mess. But the sane washing of Donald Trump, and it'll happen again today because he'll say those things, and yet the way that your average person watching corporate media experiences him, he seems fairly coherent because they cut around the Sharpie talk and sort of try to repurpose and regurgitate what he's saying to make it sound like it makes sense when it makes literally no sense. I think a lot of Americans, we just think that they know he's an idiot, and it's self-evident to us because we actually listen to the whole speech. But a lot of Americans have no idea how dumb and incompetent this president is, and they have no idea to Teray's point, what kind of a quicksand we have wandered into in Iran, and what an incredible strategic error, and an error that we're all going to pay for, y'all. This is going to be painful because getting into quicksand is easy. Getting out is almost impossible.
The military,
we call it a lot when we do this stuff. We call it a lot around wars, quagmire, and this is a real quagmire that we're getting into. And the thing is, you guys, any of you can respond to this. Donald Trump thinks that he can say, okay, I'm going to negotiate with them or not negotiate with them, and I'm just going to say we won, and then the war is over, we're pulling out. It's really not his choice.
It's not.
It's Israel and Iran.
Iran holds all the cards, but as long as Iran holds control over Hormuz, he cannot leave. I don't even care what he says. He may claim victory and all that. You can't leave as long as Iran is holding the global economy by the balls. And Iran has not been allowed to be part of the global economy because of the sanctions for several decades. So they don't care. This has no impact on them. Our economy is already in trouble, but we also let Chinese tankers go. And now they are formalizing a toll, a $2 million toll for each tanker, which of course America and its allies would never want to pay. So now you are stuck.
Yeah.
This is when it turns into economic warfare. You can bring all the soldiers home, but we have gone backwards economically because of this. You can't have that.
Well, and I was going to say, I mean, it's sort of like Stormy Daniels. If Donald Trump pulls out, the Iranians are going to say, "That's it. That's it. That's all you got."
Well, look, it's actually a mushroom effect. It's a mushroom effect.
Now, look, I always said
cloud.
Don was the bad kid in the class, and now I have to change my whole frame. It's Jim. I thought Don was. It's Jim. Jim, it's you. You're
At least Don was saying he's the gayest president ever. Jim's just making jokes like we make at the bar afterwards. But
can I bring this back to seriousness for just one moment? Because Sheree made I think, a really important point before we went into the boys' locker room, and I snuck in the boys' locker room to hang out with y'all, is that the other piece of this is not only can they put a toll on the Strait of Hormuz, it's closed to us. It's not necessarily closed to Russia or China. And because they control the strait, the only way to open the strait is by force. You'd have to put U.S. the Marines, the Navy, you'd have to put naval warships in there. And we don't want that smoke. And lastly, the people who get through, there's no guarantee. And this is the part nobody in the media talks about because no one has enough sort of financial literacy. If those people who get through the strait trade that oil in yuan or in euros or in anything but petrodollars, watch our economy tank, because petrodollars and the control that the dollar has over the oil market is the one thing holding our shaky economy together. We have a bubble in the stock market. We have a giant a glut in the oil prices, a bubble in AI. If we lose the petrodollar, fam,
that's huge. Google
it and look up what will happen. Our economy will collapse. Prices will skyrocket. The only thing keeping things affordable is that everybody trades in dollars.
And the only one that's keeping things on track here is me. Okay, so let me.
I was just going to say real quick, though. I was going to say, if I could make a serious point.
Okay.
Donald Trump, they're loosening the oil restrictions and sanctions on the Iranians. They're loosening the sanctions on the Iranians
and Russia.
And Russia. And this is from the same Donald Trump who used to go after Barack Obama for the pallets. Remember the pallets of cash when they basically unfroze some Iranian assets? That was about $1 billion. This is 10 times more than that. The Trump administration is giving to Iran. It's total hypocrisy. Not that he cares.
Do we know that America made a 15-point demand to Iran? Like, these are the things we need to get in order to end this, which is mostly about stop making your nuclear program and also stop funding Hezbollah and Hamas, which will never happen. But what they said, we will give you the lifting of all sanctions. So that would bring Iran back into the 21st century economically, which they do not really exist in because of decades of sanctions. So they would benefit economically from this. Now the rest of the deal is unacceptable to them. But America is willing to lift all sanctions against them to get out of this.
And they're saying no.
Iran better off than we found it economically.
No, because we opened. Because they also understand the bigger picture, which is that what Israel, our partner in this war, our boss, depending on how you think about it, they have said no. They want a failed state in Iran. They want Iran to collapse into the dozens of ethnic groups who are there, the Persians versus the Kurds versus all of the different ethnic groups in that country, and be a failed state because they have expansionist aims. And never forget, nothing you've been told about this war is true. What is true is that the nuclear armed expansionist state that's bossing us around in the region right now would like to have a little piece of Lebanon and a little piece of Jordan and a little piece of Iraq, a little piece of Iran, a little piece of Egypt. They would like to expand into about 5 times the size of Israel currently. And they can't do that if Iran is a strong opponent. They have to be weakened and destroyed. Once you destroy Iran, you technically take down the strongest military potential opposition because they fund the biggest militant groups who could fight against this and who could stop them from annexing Lebanon,
Yes.
who could
When
stop
they-
them from annexing Iraq.
When people talk about Iran sponsoring terrorism, that is Israeli-centric language that probably comes directly to them from Tel Aviv. What Iran is doing is supporting the group that is militarily standing up for Palestine and militarily standing up for Lebanon. And Hezbollah and Hamas arise in response to Israel's attacks on those countries, which are not strong enough to defend themselves from pretty much anybody, much less a billion-dollar Israeli army. So they are there to protect Palestine and Lebanon from Israel, Israel is the most bellicose nation in the region. Israel would like us to think that Iran is the most bellicose nation and they are protecting themselves from Iran. Not at all. They are the ones who are the settler colonialists who are trying to take over Palestine, part of Lebanon, Syria, as Joy noted, Greater Israel includes Egypt and Saudi Arabia. But if they can eliminate Iran's ability to stop them, then Palestine is over and Lebanon is over. That's what they really want out of this. Earlier, Jim said this is about Epstein, and a lot of people say that. I really think this is about Netanyahu convincing Trump to go along with this and his political ability to get Trump to go along with this more than Trump's trying to distract from Epstein. And I know Epstein was huge in the days and weeks before we went to war with this, but I think this was planned. If you listen to Joe Kent, this was planned months ago. And
Lindsey Graham was really working this on both sides, apparently. That's the reporting, that Lindsey Graham was shuttling back and forth and coaching Netanyahu on how to persuade Trump.
That's right.
And telling him how to be a Trump whisperer.
And don't think that the Epstein files aren't a part of it, because I do think that Epstein, there's a nexus between Epstein and Israeli intelligence. There's a nexus between the ability to persuade Donald Trump to do things he may not want to do, and whatever the hell is in those Epstein files.
Exactly. We don't know the.
All right, guys, that's it.
That's
it. I got to jump in here. This is the final. I'm going to put the picture up for you guys because this is for Joy. Joy, if anything happens in you, it's going to be you. Jolly said
we all saw Joy write that.
Literally, it's plagiarism. I've been plagiarized by Jolly Good Ginger. He has put my name on his he has composed a rhyme and put my name on it as if it is from me. I do agree with Free Don Lemon though, and the signature, it doesn't look quite like mine, but it's quite fetching.
They're going to arrest you, Joy.
Yeah.
It's quite fetching. It's
Just
lovely.
Don't resist, Joy.
Thank you guys, all of you guys, for our thank you, Teray. We appreciate it. We'll see you next time.
I'm gonna get Jolly. Jolly's gonna get it.
Be in touch. Be in touch.
I appreciate you, Teray. This
here
is
we
fun.
are. And then there were.
I went away.
Where's Joy? Yeah.
Like the Brady
the
Bunch.
boys' locker room.
There we
I
go.
thought they restored the boys' locker room.
Boys' locker room. Locker room talk.
And then there were
Locker room
three.
talk.
And then there were three.
Locker room talk.
So
Lord
guys,
have
I enjoyed being with
Oh,
you
boy.
again, and I think we have the best coverage out of everyone. We have great
I agree.
conversation. We could have let it go on, but
We could have.
yeah, we could have, but we're
But
not.
we won't.
We
But we
won't.
won't.
We could do it
But,
offline. We can keep doing it, as the kids say. You know.
If we can, if you guys can just allow this, because I think it's really important, and you would do the same thing. I want everybody to go. If you just for a second, if you guys want to bring up the website, because I want your viewers to do it. If you bring up donlemon.com, I want you guys to come see D.L. Hughley and me. We're going to be doing shows around the country starting on April 3rd. If you go to donlemon.com, it's at the top of the page. We start on April 3rd in Raleigh, North Carolina.
So cool.
And then April 4th, if you go to, April 4th, we are in Cleveland, Ohio. And then April 17th, we're in Boston, Massachusetts. And then Tysons, Virginia on April 18th. So if you are a reader or a costinator, come and check it out. You'll love it. Joy Reid has been our special guest. We need to get Jim Acosta as our special guest at one of these shows.
Oh no, we want free tickets. Wait, hold on. Are we getting tickets? What's up? Where you?
Yeah, you guys come.
Backstage
If you come,
pass.
you'll
We
get
want
tickets. We'll let
backstage
you
passes
in.
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll get it.
Not
So
the nosebleeds
that's
like
it. That's
last
all.
time.
That's all I want to say. And I want to say, follow us. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for allowing me to do that on your channels. So follow, if you're a lemon head, make sure you go follow Joy Reid. You follow Jim Acosta. You become members and subscribe to their shows and their social media as well. We are stronger together, all of this together. We did not have this kind of experience when we were in corporate media where people were this cooperative with each other. Everyone was so competitive. But, you know, hey, here we are.
I love you guys.
In a good space now. Yeah, you guys.
Love you
thank
guys.
You. We love
Yeah,
you too. Yeah.
We are the best. I feel like we are the best live coverage for breaking news. We're not only more thorough, but we're also more fun.
That's right. Enjoy.
Right
Joy said
on.
this to me yesterday, and I'll say it to both of you. The best thing that has happened, or one of the best things that has happened since going to independent, is becoming even better friends with both of you.
Yes.
So
indeed, it is one of the hidden benefits of getting fired on my day off is that I got to meet and be friends with somebody. I've been a big fan of Jim Acosta. I was already friends with Don Lemon, but we've even become better friends because of it. And it's been an incredible journey. And I think that this idea of bringing us together as a super group when breaking news happens, people know that they do not have to turn on corporate media in order to find out what's going on in the world. They can come and stay with independent media, and you're going to get thoroughly educated as to the facts, and you're going to get the analysis that's often lacking in mainstream media. So we just appreciate all y'all rocking with us, and do follow each and every one of our channels. We all are out here working hard as journalists and trying to bring you all information and analysis. So follow Don. Y'all are already following Don Lemonheads. All the Lemonheads always be challenging. I'll be jumping in our chats and everything. I see them all in there with the lemons. Please follow Jim Acosta. We are still workshopping the name of the thirst trap that is Jim Acosta's fan base.
I like Acostinator.
I like Acostinator too. I think it's really, really clever.
Yeah. Or it could be the Acostids.
The Acostids.
People are workshopping some other things, but I like the Acostinator. It's super cute.
I was called Jim Acosta in college, you know, for reasons I can't get into now. But anyway.
See, the locker room just will not.
Oh, God. It's you two in the locker room. I'm not. Anyway, thank you. Any last words, Jim? Are you good? You said your piece?
I'm good. No, this is all about supporting independent media. And guys, I can't think of two better people to be with on this mission. So let's do it again and again and again. I'm there anytime.
Awesome. We'll see you on the next No Day.
Yes, we'll see you, if not before.
We'll see you on the tour, Don. We'll see you on the tour.
Yes, we'll see you on Substack. We'll see you on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, of course, and everywhere you get your social. So I always say when I'm closing my show, if I can, be informed without being inundated. Until we see you back here next time, turn the TV off.